There we go, there we go. Look, there's a tiny little leopard cub. This is the first time we've seen these cubs. Welcome to Safari Live. Welcome. Sorry about that. I was so excited. The two cubs actually had a fight, and Thandi went in to break up the fight. This is the first time we've seen these cubs. Look at that. Aren't they just too gorgeous? Now, Mom raced in as they fought and sort of gave them both a clip around the ears and sent them packing. Well, welcome to Safari Live. This is a live game drive from the middle of the African bush. And that is the first time we've ever seen those leopard cubs. My name is Brent. I have my good friend Brian, who's prepared for the weather today with his umbrella thumb. So the killer bees and Thandi and cubs. Thandi's still there. I'm going to try and move the vehicle forward a little bit. We don't have too much time here. There is a lot of pressure on the sighting. Lots of people want to get in. And the cubs are so young, only one car is allowed at a time. There she is. She's calling the cubs back. Maybe we just sit here and they'll come to us. Even better. Now, she gave them quite a hiding. Now, I didn't even get a chance to see the sexes of the cubs, so who knows? Is there a little girl? Is there two little boys? I'm almost leaning towards two little boys because of that big scrap they just had. Now, it's quite difficult to hear, but I was trying to listen to see if the cubs were answering her calls. Let's just move forward a skosh. I'm just getting my binoculars out to see if I can spot them. Okay, let's move forward a little bit. See if we can find those cubs. So they're definitely two. We saw both of them. So they went behind this termite mound. They're still going to be keeping to the thickets. There they are. There they are, there they are, there they are. Oh, they're so cute. Hello, naughties. Now, see, when you fight with each other, Mom gives you a good hiding. See, there we go. One sneaking. I said they're going to like to be around the little thickets at the moment. There, they're disappearing into the thickets. You still see them, Brian? I know a lot of you out there are going to be just as excited as I am. This is just wonderful. Now, she's not a leopard we get to see too often. Shall I try back a little bit, Brian? And therefore we very rarely ever get a chance to see her cubs. Her den site's been either in Chitwa or in Torchwood, and at the moment she's got this kill right on Gowrie Main, which has given us a little bit of access. This is just too wonderful for words. I think they've gone into that thicket. You just go forward. Now, I was on standby to come here this morning before the rain got too hard and we had to dash for cover. So I was always going to come here this afternoon. Let's just have a look if we can. There they are. Okay, I think we're gonna get a view from over here, Brian. See there? Let me just see. I might move a little bit again. I'm sorry about the thing. I'm just trying to try see where the gap is. While he's moving, I will keep still. As I said, we're not going to be able to spend too much time here, but we will stay for every single second we can. So move forward a bit there, see if we can get them in the gap. Let's see where the other one is, see if it's offering us a better, I think there's a better hole through there. How's that looking, Brian? I think no, there we go. No. Heading. And just keep trying. We're just trying to find you a little window to view through. I think back's going to be the best. Now, the reason Thandi got so upset with them when they were fighting, a little bit, is because they're moving. They're there. I can just make them out. They're just in a slightly awkward spot for us here. Yes. So when back a bit. Oh, it's literally a game of centimeters. And thanks very much, Valeria. Says the killer bees strike again. Maybe even a little bit, no, less than 3 months still. Where am I going, Brian? Backwards or forwards? I can't see a gap. Kathy would like to know how a mother leopard would let you know you're getting too close to the babies. Firstly, Kathy should probably move them away herself, and if you really weren't reading the signs well, she might growl and snarl at you. Thandi has no interest in us. The reason she gave them a good hiding when they were fighting, because they were actually growling quite loudly while they were fighting with each other, is due to the fact in this windy weather, some of her senses are compromised, so that noise might attract a hyena, and her kill is still on the ground. Now, she's been very lucky not to lose this kill off the ground, especially since it is next to Gowrie Main, which is one of the main roads here, and the hyenas really like to walk up and down roads. Now, I think they're two boys just because of the fight they had. Look at them, still playing. I will try find out from the other guides who see them regularly what the sexes are. But what a way to start a windy Sunday sunset safari. Now remember, this is live and we're seeing these cubs for the first time. And if you have any questions, hashtag Safari Live on Twitter or send an email to questions@wildearth.tv. And just in case Steph's wondering, this is at Thandi's, not the chef Thandi, but the leopard Thandi's cubs. Sorry, I just need to be on the game drive. Afternoon, one station with Thandi and Mantuan, but as soon as someone wants to come here, I'll make space. Oh, look at this. It is just too wonderful. So many cubs at the moment. We've got Nkuhuma cubs, we've got Karula cubs, and we've got Sticks cubs with new Sticks cubs. I can't hear what's going on. So we're going to jump across now and go see who else is out and about on Nkuhuma.
And this afternoon is simply teeming with baby big cats. So from little leopard cubs to lion cubs playing in a riverbed. Isn't this a fantastic way to start off your sunset safari? How very lucky we all are to get to experience moments just like this. So a very good afternoon to you all. My name is Jamie. This afternoon I have VM on camera with me, and I'm so chuffed that we finally got to see little Thandi's cubs on camera. What a special moment. I told you yesterday it was worth just being patient. Right, so we've arrived at the site of the Nkuhuma kill. I just stopped for a moment on the dam wall to assess the situation and to have a look. As you can see on this cold, cloudy and very windy afternoon, the cubs aren't feeling terribly much like it's nap time, and in fact this is the best possible playtime. It's not too hot, they've had plenty of food. All in all, they must be thoroughly chuffed. Look at them all gathering. Right, shall we see if we can sneak a little bit closer and watch them as they feed off their buffalo carcass. Oh, wait, hold on. Sorry, I said that. Now they've all come running down into the riverbed once again. Isn't it hard to believe that these are the same little cubs that we watched when they were still wobbly, eyes barely open, and kept falling over? And now, whilst they might not be the masters of coordination, they're definitely a lot more solid looking than they were in the beginning. That, of course, is the joy of these live drives. Every day, twice a day, means that you get to watch these incredible characters as they grow up and grow older, including practicing their stalking technique. This makes for the perfect jungle gym. Up we go, back once again. And these two having a little cuddle play fight. Too gorgeous. Practicing their skills. Look at those paws. They're massive. Kicking each other in the face. All in all, a truly special moment. And just bear with me 1 second, I do have to be on the Game Drive channel. In theory. Just waiting to have my turn. It'll come. Okay, while I get the conversations done that I have to get done, let's head across to Steph, who is out and about, not in a vehicle, but on foot. Let's find out what he's up to.
Good afternoon, yes, and thank you very much, Jamie. You're watching Steph on Bushwalk this afternoon here at Nkuhuma Private Game Reserve, and on camera is Xander. And right off the bat, apart from those lovely lion, and well, the lion that Jamie has and the leopard that Brent has, I've also got something exciting. Have a look at this. I've just found this hornbill. It's dead, unfortunately, and it looks like it died from some other head trauma. You can see the blood coming out of its ears there, but it's still warm, and I think there was some guinea fowl giving an alarm call here, and when we came to investigate, I found the hornbill, and I think what happened was a bird of prey bashed this poor hornbill while he was busy eating termites. But I must be honest with you, it's been the most fascinating hornbill that I've found in a long time. For reasons it's just revealing so many different things. We know he was feeding on termites because when I opened up his mouth, a termite fell out, and that's probably why he was exposed to attack from above. We know that he's quite fresh, well, it's freshly killed because A, it's warm, and also the parasites haven't started to leave the bird yet. Have a look at that tick engorged there underneath his throat, and have a look at this one here. Ticks generally leave as soon as the body temperature starts to cool down a little bit. And then this is a passerine bird. Passerine meaning perching. I've always wondered how the tendons work in the leg. But have a look here. Have a look at how the bird grips my finger just by putting pressure on the right point. Isn't that incredible? So these tendons work they don't work by the bird pulling it up like I'm closing my hand. They work by pressure. Isn't that incredible? Have a look there. Just by pushing on the leg, it's closing the foot around my hand. Isn't that amazing? Do it from this side. And the harder I push, the tighter the claws go around my finger. And then third, not finally, is the fact that, now the wind has died down. But I was opening up the bird's wings, and I wanted to show you how a bird flies. It's not every day that we get to see that. And I want to use the wing as an example. Obviously, air flowing over this raised edge. There we go. Have a look at these feathers lifting. You see these feathers lifting? That's because there's a low pressure being generated above the wing, and it's sucking the bird into the sky. And that's how they fly, is they use that low pressure that's lifting those feathers, these ones here. Have a look there. Isn't it incredible? I changed the angle a little bit, the feathers don't blow. There's maximum lift achieved there. Just something phenomenal. So much lift in actual fact, I can actually almost get some flight out of this wing. Not so much now, the wind isn't blowing that hard now. But this is how he would have been flying around, neck tucked in, to give ultimate aerodynamics. And this is how he would have flown, bringing his neck forward to land, to slow himself down, or to streamline himself. But that's generally how they are, like that. Isn't that incredible? Long tail. Just have a look at that lift achieved by the wings once again. There we go. Feathers lifting. You can sometimes see on birds when they're flying at a lower level than you, their back feathers also lift. These downy feathers also lift. Let's see now if we can get something going. I just find this amazing. It's just not so often you find a bird that hasn't got rigor mortis set into itself, and that'll allow us to have a look in very soft downy feathers. This is what the females keep their babies warm with. They pluck out all their primary feathers. These are their primary feathers. They pluck out all these feathers, literally going bald. There's the primary feathers underneath there, these ones. And let's see, has this male, this wing has got no molting feathers just yet. Let's see if this wing has got any gaps. No. No gaps, so no molting just yet. Here's the ailerons. These front feathers, that's where the aircraft that fly around today with those little upswept wings at the tips, they got their biomimicry from these feathers here, which do something that saves or makes them more efficient. And I don't know quite what the percentage was that the aircraft, big jumbo jets and Airbuses and all that sort of thing, saved by putting those little upswept wings, but that's where they get it from that little feather, that little aileron feather in the front there. This is those flash coloration that he uses to show mates how pretty he is, and then also to warn other males. Have a look at how these feathers slide past one another. Just absolutely Mother Nature at its best. I really like that. I don't quite know what I'm going to do with this fellow while we're at it. I can put him here next to the road, take him back to James and see what he says about him. So let's just put him down. All due respect to animals, even though they are dead, it's always good to pay respects. It's a good thing to learn from them like we did now, but it's also a good thing not to disrespect animals that we find dead here. You know, they're worthy of our respect, at least anyway. So all honest to the dead animal like this. Our plan today, walking into the wind. We got this nice stiff breeze coming out of the south again. We want to go and see if we can find any other flowering trees. I've been on the search for the last week or two for a for a weeping boer bean with flowers, and that's exactly what today's mission is about. Now, I hear that Jamie has finally managed to reposition herself at that lion sighting, so off you go. We'll catch up with you later.
We have got a much better view of the dead buffalo and the lions that are feeding on them. And it's amazing. They've basically, from last night when they killed that poor buffalo, they've essentially, between all 13 of them, finished it off in just less than 12 or so hours. There's hardly anything left, and the sound effects coming from these little ones is they're absolutely incredible. The growling at each other, scampering lion cubs coming out of nowhere. I didn't even know that lion cub was there. Ah, I see. I'm tired of playing and trying to fight for my place at the carcass. I want to come and play this side. Ah, here's a little cub that's managed to steal a scapula, and this is now just the best toy ever, but it's got its claws stuck in it. Oh, there we go. It's managed to get it off. Oh, careful, you're about to fall off the edge of the crest there. Down into the riverbed if you're not careful. Here comes an attacker. I wanted to. Kidding around. Oh, lost your scapula. Oh no. Oh well, luckily there's plenty of other things to play with out here in the bush. Can't believe how big these cubs have got. I know it sounds ridiculous because I see them nearly every day. Now, Daniel from Scotland, welcome on a windy sunset safari. While we watch our little lion cubs play with their sharp needle teeth and claws, you want to know how old they will be when they get new teeth. And they usually start at around 6 months, getting their new permanent adult teeth. And then by about a year old, they've grown all of their adult teeth. So, you know how when you are a child, you have less milk teeth than you do permanent teeth when you get older? It works the same way for puppies, kittens, and cubs. And they start to get their permanent teeth around about 6 months old. Usually the first ones to come through are the new canines and the new incisor teeth. And sometimes, if you're really lucky, you might even get to see them, or we might even get to see them, as they start to grow their canine teeth, and they don't always lose their baby teeth straight away, and you get these little sort of double rows of teeth to watch. It is utterly adorable. So that's the answer. And then towards the sort of the 12-month-old mark is when the last of the molars are coming through. Oh, have you got a tail? Oh, listen to the growling. Everybody has to fight for their place at the buffalo carcass. Although sometimes it's quite nice after the meal of buffalo to wash it down with a meal from the milk bar. Although I think the milk bar, we've discussed it over the last few days. Ooh. Just listen to that. We've discussed the fact that the milk bars are starting to dry up and the cubs are slowly being weaned. Debbie in Vancouver's also raised a point that we've also talked about a lot, which is the fact that the older cubs are starting to look so lanky. And I've actually mentioned this a few times now because I want to reassure everybody, over the next 2 or so, actually even longer, the next 4 or so months, these cubs are going to hit their growth spurts. And they start to look like lanky teenagers, like they've been stretched, but they haven't had time to fill out. And they always look a little bit thin and a little bit sort of undernourished, and it's not really the case. It's just that their body's growing so fast it can't quite catch up with itself. That, and of course they will then be fully weaned, which means no more supplementing from mum. Although these little ones, the youngest ones, definitely have a little way to go still. Oh yes, you are the master of stealth until you trip over a tail. Ha ha! The stalker became the stalked. This scapula proving to be an irresistible lure for the little lion cubs of the Nkuhuma pride. So for our new viewers, talking about the different age groups, we've actually got 3 sets of cubs from 3 different mothers here, all of different ages, although the older set and the middle set are probably the closest together. They are roughly about 5 months old. The youngest ones are about 3 months old. And there's a very noticeable size difference between the eldest ones, especially since they seem to hog the carcasses whenever possible. Whenever there's food around, they spend a lot of their time niggling at each other and trying to feed. Oh, that helps, Mum. Peeling back the skin a little bit. It's not so easy. Oh, so cheeky. It's amazing the sound. That came from the cubs, not the lionesses. And that's just the explosive sounds that they're able to make. They already sound like fearsome adults. And having now seen them roar, okay, so the roars they still have to work on. They've got the growls, but the roars still need a little bit of work. Having been sitting with this pride before, when the females start their deep booming roar and the cubs go growl, growl. Definitely one of the cutest things I've ever seen. So special. Right, well, we've been so busy this afternoon. There is somebody who's feeling terribly left out, so we'd better head across to James so that he can actually say hello and good afternoon.
It's so hard being left out. Jandre, don't you find it's hard to be left out? Hello, everybody. I'm just joking. I'm not actually devastated. It's Sunday. I'm in the tent. It's very beautiful. Jandre is on camera today. He is recovering from an illness. It's very nice to be back with him. I am also very upset, of course. You will see that this earpiece is very new. You will also see that it's very skinny. This is because there is a person sitting with Thandi's cubs right now who is, well, let's be kind. Let's say he's mistaken the fat earpiece that goes in my fat ear for his own. I shall have a word with him when we get back. Right, let's get on to the biology. I have found you a wood-boring beetle. To be honest, I didn't find it at all. Steph found it. It was dying in the camp, and that's not because it ate any of Amanda's cooking, which is inescapably wonderful all the time. And let's have a look at it now. There it is. Now, for those of you who are perhaps new to the tent, welcome. It's lovely to have you here. This is a microscope feed. You're not about to be invaded by aliens. That there is the wood-boring beetle. And I'm just going to try and get a slightly better picture of its mandibles. There you can sort of see those are not the mandibles, those sort of last bits of twitching part there. It is, well, it's on its way out. It's obviously not quite dead yet, but it's going to be soon. But just about in the middle of the bottom of your screen you can see quite a sharp edge underneath that sort of flappy bit with the copper top. And that edge is what they use to bore into wood. Now I'm just going to ask Kirsten to cut back to the other feed. Now. Cut back to the other feed now. Hello? Oh, well done. There we go. Everybody's well, it's Sunday, you know, everyone's a little bit asleep. I'm going to try and just get an in on a slightly different angle of the jaws. And then there we go. There are the jaws. Can you see those sort of sharpish things there? Those sort of clamping things which would make a very painful bite and very good at getting into hard wood. Sorry, it is a little bit difficult. I'm hand-holding the microscope. There we are. Anyway, that is a wood-boring beetle, and we'll go back to the normal feed now, and then I'll get Jandre to show it to you properly. There you are, Jandre. What say you to this wood-boring beetle?
Beautiful.
He says beautiful, everybody. And you can see that little bit of warning coloration that it has there underneath. And that will probably sort of throw out, if you like, as it flies away from a potential predator. So that's quite nice. We often talk about wood boring beetles, and we often see the holes that they dig. I'm just worried that this one's still got a little bit of life left in him, and he might bite my thumb off, but I hope not. But we often see them, as I've said, when the bark gets torn off trees, and we've often looked at the holes that are dug by the woodpeckers and that sort of thing, but half of those holes are dug by beetles like this, that go in there and lay their grubs, and the grubs, I think, probably then eat the sawdust that the wood borer has left. Very nice. Now, as you can see, we have a very large array of things here, many of which you will have seen before, but a couple that you haven't perhaps. One of which is lurking underneath the giraffe here, Jerry the giraffe. We've closed the back, everybody, on account of the inclement weather that there is. I'm just going to move Jerry. Get out of the way, Jean-André. I'm going to break your foot with Jerry by mistake, and we know how accident prone you are. Now, of course, in Jerry is living all of those little bees, but we won't show you them today. They're very cold. They don't like to come out when it's very cold. Now, look at this bone. Guess what it came from, Jean-André?
Chicken.
A steenbok. You were incorrect. It's not a chicken. It is a steenbok bone. A very big steenbok. I am, of course, talking rubbish. This is from an elephant's leg, and it fits quite nicely. If you look at... if you look at this one here, if you're able to hold them together, they fit quite nicely together. And, well, it probably weighs, I would say, about 20 kilograms, 40 pounds or so, maybe 18 kilograms. So it is rather heavy. That is heavier than a steenbok in its entirety. A steenbok weighs probably about 12 kilograms. So that's one of the new things that we've got here. One or two things more to show you just now. But while we wait for that, let's head back to Brent Leo Smith, his earpiece and his kudu.
Here we go. Beautiful male kudu down in the drainage line. And isn't this exciting? It's not only about the big cats. There's such a plethora of incredible animals out here. Oh, and it looks like he's coming towards us. So as he feeds, I might just have to move backwards a little bit. He's behind the bush. Now, of course, today is a very special day. Firstly, because we got our first glimpse of Thandi's two cubs. Oh, he's just in the thickets there. And secondly, because it's Shongila and Hosanna's birthday. So those are Karula's current set of cubs, and they were born about 100 meters from where we're sitting now in the same little river system that the kudu and is browsing in at the moment. And just as we zoomed in there, you might have noticed, there we go, some oxpeckers, and of course an ever-present fork-tailed drongo. And he's of course hoping that that kudu disturbs any insects that he can pounce upon, while the oxpeckers are combing through his fur, removing any ectoparasites. Now we're in search of leopard again, and of course not only leopard, any other creature we might come across like this kudu. But this is the area where Herbie and Steph thought they heard a male leopard calling this morning. So we're just going to go have a look for footprints, and hopefully we find some tracks, and hopefully that leads us to the leopard. So unfortunately we had to leave Thandi and her cubs. There are quite a few vehicles already going to see there, and because they are so young, it is only a one vehicle sighting. So that's why Brian and I got going early to get there before anyone else was even on game drive, so we could spend as much time as possible with those gorgeous little cubs. Now this evening, we might be lucky if it stays overcast like this, that there might be some frogs about. Hi Becky. Becky's in New York. Becky would like to know, are those cubs good tree climbers yet? I would say yes, Becky. I'm trying to remember when I first heard about them being born. Maybe someone at home can remind me. Oh, don't disappear. Oh, you can just see there's a little grey duiker. Becky, yes, they are capable tree climbers already at that young age. So there we go, a little duiker. Oh, very upset Franklin. Alarm calling down near the Mawati River. So let's go have a look. So a lot of the ways we find all these animals is from the alarm calls of other animals. So you're always using your ears. So that Franklin could be alarm calling for a mongoose. It could be alarm calling for a bird of prey. But it could also be alarm calling for a leopard. So while we go check there quickly, let's go to Steph, who's got an 8-legged creature you wouldn't want to find in your boot.
You know, one of the most exciting things about being here at Djuma Private Game Reserve is the fact that we can walk around on foot like we're doing at the moment, and we get to see all the most exciting things. And right down here, I have a granulated burrowing scorpion, and a prime example of one. Have a look at how beautiful this creature is. We're looking at an organism that's been running around for 350 million years. Yes, that's right. We've been looking at this thing. It's been in this particular form pretty much unchanged for the last 350 million years. Consider the fact that we've only been around for about 2 million years or so. You can understand how special this scorpion actually is. Now, for a lot of you wanting to know, how do we know that this scorpion isn't life-threatening? You have a look at these very overdeveloped claws. You can see that they almost got Popeye forearms. For those of you who remember Popeye the Sailor Man that used to eat his tin of spinach and, I don't know, grow some superhuman powers. And have a look at how skinny the tail is in relation to these overdeveloped pincers. And there we know that this particular scorpion hunts by using the pincers, extending those extendable arms out, probing cracks and crevices, and dispatching prey using a very powerful hold on the claws, and then those quite sharp serrated teeth. And I'm going to show you, I've got a claw of one now, yeah, but I'll show you in a bit. And then will sometimes sting to subdue the prey. If it was the other way around, if the claws were very skinny in comparison to the tail, which was very robust, then we know that the scorpion literally uses its tail and its sting to sting the prey into submission and to actually start the digestive process as well. So this is the scorpion. She's got eyes on top of her head, 2 eyes there, 1, 2, and the rest of her eyes are on the edge there, just in front of my stick. 3 on that side and 3 on that side. Isn't that amazing? Now, it looks like she's been actively defending her patch, because I have been finding these bits and pieces of scorpion lying around here, and that is another scorpion, exactly the same, granulated bark scorpion. And have a look at that pincer, and I'm going to bring it actually up to that's the top, the bottom pincer, and just have a look how sharp that ridge is with that little hook, pointed hook on the end. Can you see it there? Should I hold it a bit slower? Is my shake becoming pronounced? Just have a look at that serrated edge there. That is as blade-like as I've ever seen anything. Isn't that crazy? And we'll use it like a pair of shears to dismember pieces of the prey that she's caught, holding it with that hook, and then breaking off those pieces and putting it into her mouth. And her mouth has another separate set of pincers on it. So her mouth has got these tiny little pincers called chelicerae, and they will actually take the pieces of food and put it into her mouth, right, which sits between the two. So she's actually got this most unbelievable face. Pair of pincers rips off pieces of insect, and then putting it in her mouth, where these little claws take it and put it inside her actual mouth, which lies behind all of this. I can actually show you a chelicerae. Let's see. So right there you can see those little claws that she will use. Now why don't we pick scorpions up? If you look very carefully, you'll notice that this scorpion has a fine covering of hairs everywhere. Now these hairs are pressure sensitive. They're very, very, very sensitive to air pressure currents, and that's how she hunts. She feels her way around. If you go and pick up the scorpion by the tail, in other words, if you just do that to this particular scorpion, you could then pick her up by the tail like this, immobilizing the sting. But what you do there is you hurt all of these hairs all over the place here. And it must be incredibly painful for these animals. And for that reason, we don't pick up scorpions out here if we don't really have to. Now, you've just said you'll freak out if you see one of these in your house. But in actual fact, they're relatively harmless, these particular ones, I must be honest with you, most people would freak out by having that. But you can see, oh, she touched my hand there. And you could see that was something. See there? She knows exactly that the substrate is different. But as you can see, very docile. These particular scorpions are not aggressive whatsoever. Now, what I did there, please don't do with a scorpion you don't know. And in particular, don't do it with a scorpion with a very well-developed tail. That reflex where she stopped may have elicited a strike from a more venomous or more aggressive species of scorpion. And there are scorpions on this planet that will kill you if it stings you. But she is absolutely beautiful. What a pristine example. We're going to cover her up again and leave her. She'll probably be hunting here for another couple of years before someone else like me comes along and disturbs her. And without further ado, we're going to be sending you over to James in that fantastic tent full of artifacts of his.
I don't know what it is, but we'll look at it anyway. It's a moth of some kind. Look. Look at its pretty colours. Now it's either something called a white monkey or something similar, except those apparently are too small, but it's the right colour to be a white monkey, given that it is genre. White, correct, well done, good guess. And also it's got these golden bits to it. It's got a golden antenna. I think this is Mrs. White Monkey, and that is because those are more like combs than they are the great sort of fanned antenna of the males. And just look at the edges of the legs there. Oops, the daisies, there we are. Look at those hairs. It's like some really clever fashion person came along and decided on the colour scheme for this perfectly matching moth. White and gold and copper and orange and a little bit of brown and just not quite black thrown in there. I think it's fantastic. And then you can also see what I'm going to do, while we're waiting here. You can come back to me, Kirst, sorry. There we are. You're back with me. Yes, you are. I'm going to put it onto this piece of black card, because what that does then is hopefully stops the camera on the microscope from exposing for the white bit, and it will expose for the eye. There we go. And then you can see the eyes. And what I'm going to do is try and get a little bit closer to them and show you that they are compound eyes in much the same way that a fly has compound eyes. We can't really see it actually. You see, this camera is very clever, except when you want to look at something very dark. And so what you'll find on those eyes are lots and lots of little lenses, much like those of a fly. So that, everybody, is Mrs. White Monkey. Something, well, we think it's a white monkey. I'm not entirely convinced as to what it could be. Anyway, that's what's going on there. Now, very soon, of course, after this rain, we will have an emergence of some amphibians with any luck. Now, get out of my way. I'm trying to get something here. Thank you. We will also have an emergence of these tortoises. This, of course, being the Speaks-hinged tortoise. And what we don't often see, of course, is the hinge on the Speaks-hinged tortoise. See that, Andre? That is the hinge, and that is where it closes up. And this one, ooh. This one's a bit crunchy. It's not very new, you see. And so what happens is that the tortoise pulls its legs inside, and then it closes up here, and that hinge pulls over, and it closes up the top of the carapace. That's the carapace there, and that is the plastron underneath. There are two kinds of hinged tortoises, and this is the only one we get here, the Speaks hinged tortoise. Very nice. Now, Brent Leo Smith is driving around in the blustery cold. He has a nice warm jacket on. You will see I do not have a nice warm jacket because I am out of the wind. Lucky me, unlucky him. Let's go and find out how his search for leopards is going.
Well, we're checking all the different main traverse routes of male leopards. It's been really cool today, so there's a good chance that leopard might have moved during the day. And we're just having a quick squiz looking for tracks and of course everything else that's out there. Now, when you have to struggle a little bit in this weather, not when you've got cats, but for general game, sort of zebra, wildebeest, impala, they can be quite nervous in this strong wind. And you can see that, I mean, even from this distance, that impala is already on the move. So they're quite jumpy and nervous in this weather. Oh, he's got one horn. Is it Nelson? Please be Nelson. I haven't seen Nelson for so long. I thought Nelson retired to the impala place in the sky. Okay, so for those of you who don't know who Nelson is a one-horned, one-eyed impala with one ambition: to avoid Karula. Because he seemed to live in Karula's hangout. Oh, now we have many impala here, but they all are quite jumpy in this cold weather, so I'm going to and this windy weather more than the cold weather. There it is. There he is. I don't know. What do you think, Brian? No, it's not Nelson. Nelson didn't have any stump left of his horn. So I think it is probable that Nelson has moved on to the next plain. Hopefully it's the plain full of luscious thamida, the best eating grass, lovely ladies, and no lions or leopards. Just go forward a little bit. You can see now the impala, some more than others, have this incredible sort of much more reddish tinge to them than they normally have, and there's a great example there. You can see how that guy there is a much darker looking color than the others. Now that's because he's like Brian and myself. He doesn't like the cold. So that's the impala's version of a blankie. So what they do is they extend their hair follicles, and air gets trapped between their body and their fur, and it creates a sort of warm and insulative layer around them. Oh, there goes Cyclops. No, he's not. He doesn't. Cyclops had one eye. It's the Nelson imposter. It's a unicorn, Brian. So let's see how normally we can get really close to the impala with no problem, but with this wind you can see they immediately move off and try stay out of trouble. Now of course if you're a leopard, this wind is your best friend because it's going to make it harder for the impala, the duiker, the kudu, the steenbok to sense your presence or hear you coming. Now I can barely hear anything with this wind blowing around. Now I heard a report from Taxon that they had Karula's tracks quite late on drive today, and she made a kill, but it looks like she dragged it across out of our traverse area. I'm just going to go have a look with our super zoom. Wouldn't it be just too special to see Shongila and Hosanna on their birthday? Now that's quite an interesting story in itself, and it's very, very seldom you can actually pinpoint the exact date that a leopard cub was born. It's normally a general guess, but we noticed Karula behaving quite strangely on a sunset safari on it was the 1st of February this year, and we decided no, she's up to something. She was going into this cave in the little river system there. She was going out, urinating constantly, back into the cave, out of the cave, back into the cave. So we knew something was up. And we went there first thing on the sunrise safari, and we got to see those cubs when they were mere hours old. They must have been about that big. They were absolutely tiny. Eyes were closed. It was a really special experience. It is definitely the youngest leopard cubs I've ever seen in my life. But absolutely amazing that we were able to pinpoint the day. We were there within hours of them being born. And that is one of the wonderful things about being live and out here. And thank you very much, James Richard, talking about cubs and cubs age. And we said Karulas were born on the 2nd of February. And James Richard said the first record of Thandi's cubs, I think, was 12th of July. So we could probably say they're born in July to be safe. And so that would be, so July, so middle of July, so August, September, so yeah, just 2 months, maybe a little bit younger, or between 2 and 3 months would be a good bet, just looking at that side. But weren't they just adorable? They actually had a proper fight. I mean, the noise, and it was difficult to hear with the wind, but it was quite serious. Those little guys were, which makes me think it could be boys. I don't know. I hope it's boys. Boys tend to wander around, and they can be highly entertaining. Young male leopards are incredible creatures to spend time with. So while we continue our search for an older male leopard, and hopefully, fingers crossed, the appearance of the prince and princess and their mother for their birthday, maybe they'll give us a royal salute. But in the meantime, let's go see how Jamie's endeavours are faring.
For now, we have had to leave the lion cubs, unfortunately, and we're just trundling around to see what we can see. I thought we'd give Brent a hand, just checking the eastern side of Djuma to see whether or not there's any sign of leopards popping out there. But other than that, I don't have any particular plans. I think probably one of us, either Brent or myself, will go back to the lions when there is a space available. But it's not a sighting that we can keep all to ourselves, and since there's only really one good viewpoint, I decided it was time to make some space for other people. I'm coming around this side because I've noticed as we've been driving along in Yala Road, there is one very, very upset francolin, and I want to go and see if we can see the reason behind it. So it's no longer alarm calling, giving that sort of high-pitched screeching sound that they give when they alarm call at something straight away. But it's doing what they do afterwards, and we've seen it a few times. I've seen it a few times, particularly when they've had a narrow escape from some kind of predatory bird. They sit and they squawk indignantly for a while afterwards. And I'll show you what I mean. I'm trying to find this one. He's quite hidden somewhere. I can just hear it. I think it's in a little bit too far into the vegetation, but I can hear it. Chirp, chirp. Can you hear it at all, Wiem, or is it just wind? Just wind. You'll have to take my word for it, I'm afraid, on this windy day. Our microphone won't pick it up. But we've seen it, I saw it once on Bushwalk, for those of you who might remember it, where a francolin had escaped from a bird of prey and was hiding in a bush, and they get this really indignant, fluffed up, and I think it's just the panic and the adrenaline slowly calming down. But they sit and they contact call repeatedly, obviously very, very upset about the narrow miss. But I can't see, and without knowing exactly where this francolin is, I can't see anything immediately. I was hoping perhaps it might be that leopard might have upset it slightly. Although it's most likely going to be something like an aerial bird of prey, perhaps one of the African hawk eagles that nest just round here. Let's go and see if they're at home. Nope. No sign of our African hawk eagles, just some very bright-eyed, bushy-tailed nyala. Hello. What have you got to say for yourselves, pretty things? Looking particularly fluffy on this chilly afternoon. I've spent some amazing moments with this particular herd of nyala. I'm relatively certain it's the same one, as they've played in this exact spot, racing round each other. Every now and again, nyala have what my parents used to call a silly five, where all of a sudden they become incredibly playful and start dashing around like maniacs. It's rare to see, but when you do see it, it is thoroughly entertaining. And it is just them playing. It's their playful nature. Yes, come on. Don't suppose you feel like giving us a demonstration. Not so much. Particularly young ones of about this age. They often hop and skip and give a perfect demonstration of their incredible agility. But I guess for now, far more interested in lunch. And one on the left, still standing. She's a bit more alert than the others. She's looking back exactly to where that Franklin was alarm calling, though she at least knows to pay attention to the sounds of the bush. And animals do know, and they do look up and listen when other species alarm call, whether it's go-away birds or impala or anything like that. You'll find that when one starts to call, the other will begin once more. So if these nyala were to give their deep booming bah bark, anything else in the vicinity is immediately alerted to the potential predator or potential threat, whatever it may be. And sometimes they obviously know how to dismiss it. If a squirrel starts calling at a snake, for example, it's not really much concern to the nyala. They just know to avoid that particular spot. Or perhaps the go-away birds start to alarm call for a bird of prey. The nyala will look and see what's happening, and then if it's not relevant to them, then they will relax once again. Something that we saw not too long ago with the lions, monkeys and impalas all together during one of our school drives. Don't you love the delicate step of the nyala? High step, they don't... Oh! Photobombed by a drongo. As always, there's always a drongo around. One of these little blackbirds is always to be found if you look closely enough, constantly dogging the footsteps of the larger mammal species, catching any insects that perhaps might be disturbed by the feeding of the antelope. Fantastic little mimics, these birds. And very proficient flyers. Right, let us go and find out. It seems as though James's techniques have been rubbing off on Steph. Let's go find out which tree he's managed to climb.
You know, it's one of these things I just can't get out of my system from when I was a little boy. I used to love climbing trees, and James and I have a certain affinity for being up in the boughs of massive old men like this one is. This is a weeping bourbean. This is the tree that I wanted to come and have a look at for two reasons. One is that we've been seeing flowers of various and varied trees at the moment because of the rain. So we've been seeing everything from tree wisterias to knobthorns to everything that I've seen at the moment, shangbok pods, everything. All the early flowering trees are flowering except for weeping bourbeans. I don't know why the weeping bourbeans this time of the year are not flowering. Near my house in Hoedspruit, all the weeping bourbeans are in flower. So I'm just waiting for these spectacular shows from these trees. But I can't help but climb a bough when you can, and this was one of the very first trees that I ever did a Safari Live TV show from. This was exactly where I'm standing now, a little bit further on. In actual fact, over there was where Quarantine was lying. We managed to find Quarantine and approach him on foot for one of the TV shows that we did, and we stood not 20 meters away while he was resting on the side of this termite mound after he had jumped down. And it's quite nice to be up here where he was. I must be honest, quite a nice memory. But there's another reason why I climbed up here, and it's because I've lost Herbert. He has managed to evade me and is in the vicinity here somewhere, and being in the top of this tree is allowing me a nice vista all the way around to see where I can see him. And we haven't really misplaced one another. It's just a question of temporary, how would I put it? We've just misplaced one another. That's all I want to say about that. Alright, now for climbing down this tree, remembering that I am not a 12-year-old boy anymore. Of course, my wife would be chastising me not at the moment. Asking me exactly what I think I was doing, or what I'm thinking of doing. Doesn't seem too bad. My technique isn't lacking too much, I don't think. What do you think, Xander? I think that was too bad. I'm not bleeding from anywhere. Nothing's come off. Alrighty, and on we go. Right, so what we're going to be doing now that we found our weeping brobean tree and it's not in flower, is we're going to be meandering our way through the bush in front of us here and looking for a Mulwati drainage line, which is the next best place that I can think of to find a weeping brobean. And of course we're going to be looking for anything else on the way. But one thing I do want to say before I go, today has been a wonderful day of discovery for the solifuges. For those of you who watched this morning, we found a solifuge, and we didn't quite know what it was, but in the interim we found out that 4 different species of solifuge, 4 different genus of solifuge in the Kruger National Park, about 11 different species, so not just the 3 that I was thinking of. And the one that we found today was not the one that digs the vertical burrow and caps it with a cap of silk. And the reason for that is that I sent all your photos that you sent through to me today, thank you very, very much. Sent them through to Lee Guttridge, who identified this particular spider as not that particular one that buries that or digs that vertical burrow. This particular spider, if you remember this morning, or this particular arachnid, was digging her burrow in at an angle of about 45 degrees. And that, he says to me, is definitive enough. So not the one that we thought of, so we're going to keep on looking for that one, unfortunately. But I do have to say thank you for helping me with all of that today. And also to James Richard, who sent through a very interesting bitten piece of information about how solifuges breed, which I will go into when you get back in a little bit. We're going to send you off to some lion cubs, I think. Catch you in a while.
Did Steph just call me a lion cub? I think he might have. Hello everybody. I was going to attempt to make this giraffe leg bone stand up. I was going to gaffer tape it to Gendre to show you how tall it is, but of course that would have precluded Gendre shooting with the camera, and you don't want me to be doing that. So what I thought I'd do was put it together here on the floor, and although I am not large man, you can see that the giraffe's leg is substantially taller than I. I'm just very slightly under average height. And this is one giraffe's leg, which I think is quite a nice way of doing things. I shall tell you a little bit about it now. Gendre, I'm going to just hold all my technical equipment. Now, what we have here is the fused metacarpals. Now, the fused metacarpals are your hands, basically, or at least your fingers. That's what is in here. Very nice. No, I'm talking shit again. Sorry. I'm so sorry. I do apologize, especially to our younger viewers. That is really terrible. I'm talking rubbish is what I mean. And I'm so frustrated with myself because I can never get this right. Oh gosh, I'm so deeply embarrassed. I do apologize profusely. I'm going to now forget that. These are the fused metacarpals, they are, but the metacarpals are not your fingers, those are your phalanges, so they're your metacarpals in your hands. Okay, now let's just forget what I said there, Gendre. Try not to shake anymore. And we are missing a few small bones, and those few small bones are the carpals, and they would go between here and here, and that's the wrist basically, and we're missing the bones of the wrist. I feel very cold now suddenly. I'm not sure why my heartbeat is racing. Then if we come further around this way, I do apologize. We have what is this, basically the forearm here. This is the forearm. That is the radius. So you have two bones in your forearm and you can actually feel them. That's the radius there. That's the big one. And then the ulna, which goes into the elbow. That's the elbow joint there. And you can see on this particular animal, on the giraffe and on most of the herbivores, there you've got it's fused. It's fused together. Radius and ulna going into the elbow. And then over here, we have the humerus, and the humerus, of course, is the top of the arm where the bicep would attach. So basically, that's the giraffe's front leg, and onto here would attach the shoulder, and that in turn would attach to the spine, which would probably be on a giraffe like this, which would probably stand about that tall. So let's just work it out. 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are probably quite small meters. Let's do that once more, and we'll give it a bit of space for its hoof. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, almost 3 meters at the shoulder. So this would have been a very tall giraffe. The big male is about 4.5 meters tall in total. So including the neck, another 1.5 meters. The giraffe would have been roughly that tall. So that's quite impressive, I think. Anyway, that's the story there. I feel like I'm going to go into the headmaster's office now for saying a naughty word, and I'm very sorry indeed. Now, come with me, Jean-Andre. There was something else I wanted to show everybody. Gracie, aged 9, and it's very appropriate that you should ask me a question now, of course. I must apologize once more. Please don't ever say that word, Gracie. It's a terrible word. You want to know if this elephant bone is from an adult or a baby elephant, that big one there. That's the one there. Gracie, it's from an adult elephant. It's huge. It's really enormous. I suspect probably from an elephant bull, and I think the old bull that would have died on his own and a long time ago. And the reason we can see that it's from a long time ago, I'm going to ask Jean-Andre to come a little bit closer. Come here, Jean-Andre. If you look over here, Gracie, I'm not going to take it out because it's so very heavy. Let me move that. That's disgusting, isn't it? You don't like those pens, do you, Jean-Andre? There we are. And what you can see, Gracie, you see it's very, very rough, and bits and pieces of it actually come off when I scrape. And that's because it's very old and it's been sitting in the soil for a very, very long time. And when the sun and the rain falls on it, eventually it starts to go away. And if you left it for long enough, it would disappear completely. It would go into the earth. And if you left it in the right place for long enough, and the right place would be like a sort of, or maybe in one of the pans, for example, if that was in Buffelshoek Dam, it may be, and the dam lasted for long enough, it might eventually form a fossil. So the bone would eventually rot away and be replaced by silt and sediment, and that would eventually get very hard like a rock, and that would be a fossil. But like that, where it was sitting out in the open, you'd find that it would eventually disintegrate completely and go into the earth. Now what I did want to show you, oh no, I can't now. I was going to show you Ronald the Rover, but Ronald the Rover seems to be asleep now. What a pity. Oh well, we'll have a talk to our Russian, a very kind and gentle word. While I do that, let's go across to Steph. He's on bushwalk. I'm not sure what he's got. It looks like a bit of greenery to show you. That's excellent. We'll see you shortly.
It is a bit of greenery with something living in it, which is what I want to show you here, because I think we've got, for the first time and probably the only time at this time of the year, the beetles which are infesting these spikethorn bushes, mating with one another. Have a look at that. And also their eggs. Have a look at this. Underneath this particular leaf is a patch of eggs. Can you see that, Zana? Hang on, wait. Can we just lift it over there? Can you see there? So there's the eggs, the results of that union. You can see the beetle's eggs are underneath that leaf. Now this is a source of food that very, very many insects would love to get hold of. And I'm almost sure that these beetles are mating now and laying these types of eggs all over these leaves here for a reason. I think what's happening is they're making use of the calm before the relative storm. And it's going to be so interesting to see what hatches out of these eggs. I wonder if it is these beetles' eggs. I'm not sure, but this particular spike thorn has got lots of these mating beetles in, these coppery colored beetles, plus eggs all over the leaves, and this is the first time I'm seeing these eggs on these leaves. Have a look at these guys. It's lovely, yeah? This is a common spike thorn, and one of these trees that sort of stay green the whole year but have these horrible leaves and have these spines on them. Have a look at that. Now we know this is a spine and not a thorn, because a spine doesn't have a node. And you can see there's a node there, the leaf is coming out of that node. If it was an auxiliary node, they call it, if it was a thorn, it would have an auxiliary node. In other words, a spine is a modified branch and therefore much harder, and a thorn is a modified leaf and therefore a little bit softer, although they've both got a very spiky end to it. So this is a spike, not a thorn. Alright, Mr. Zander, let's carry on going. We're wandering around in this thicket of these, hang on, wait, we got a bit stuck here. We're hanging around in this thicket of young knob thorns. And I just want you to take in the destruction that we are in at the moment. This is a young knob thorn tree here. And you get these thickets of these young knobthorn trees on the banks of these drainage lines in this particular area. And for some reason the elephant just come through them like a whirlwind. You can see one has been broken down here. And then if we just do a little sweep around, you'll actually notice there's here and there's all over the place. It looks like a bomb has gone off in this particular area. I've actually just noticed that there's a pan there. Yes, let's go and have a look at that pan. It's quite exciting approaching pans. I'm always interested to see what life they hold at this time of the year. Obviously, you've got to watch out for buffalo in these pans, and we've been here for quite some time already and I haven't been squashed by one, so I'm fairly certain there isn't a buffalo here. Although it is always good to be careful. I love these pans. You know, every pan out here almost has a life of its own. And what I mean by that is that there will be a frog population in this pan, and they will have their turn to have their cacophony heard above all other pans in the area. And you can hear as summer comes along, this pan will all of a sudden become lively and then die down, and then the next pan will become lively and die down. And it's just interesting to see what has come around here. Now, I mean, Xander, don't fall in here. I don't think it's going to be very nice for you. Let's see what has been feeding around. Nothing. We've got a couple of nyala, a couple of buffalo, some zebra. This here is a zebra hoof. This is a zebra hoof. And this is a nyala. Let's see over here. What have we got? Over here, there's some more sand. Nothing much. So this pan looks like it just recently filled up, probably from those big rains that we had here a couple of days ago, probably not 10 days or so ago. And so nothing here yet, that's what I'm going to say. But Brent has a pan that definitely does have something in it.
And it is a great grey beast, the hippopotamus. Isn't that wonderful? So we often come to Red Dam to look at this hippo, and this is one of the only sort of deep bits of water left that can hold a hippo quite comfortably within our Travis area. So this is where we see hippo probably the most often at the moment, and it's hard to believe February last year when I started, there was a group of about 15 or 20 hippo in Buffels Hook waterhole. And he's probably going to head out of the waterhole a little bit earlier this evening so he can enjoy some of this green flush of grass. And you probably find the water is warmer than the outside air. That's why he's popping his head down. Hippo are often in some very funny poses, I find. I mean, why? There we go. Nose up. Oh, big breath. Quite the moustache he's got going there as well. And there is that famous and very well known and much loved hippo ear wiggle. And of course there's lots of different folklore about hippo, as with, you hear that, Brian? Ah, it's the water pipe. Man, you're talking to us. I suddenly thought I heard Thandi. Anyway, back to African folklore and hippopotamus. Now, one could say, especially the way this hippo is behaving, it's because once he was hairy. Now that might not make too much sense right now. So the hippo in yesteryear apparently had the most beautiful coat and was one of the most exquisite animals. See, he's embarrassed now. He's not very good looking anymore. Has to hide his head in shame. Now, he was also the most boastful of all the animals, and used to bully because he was quite big, make the animals praise him and stroke and groom his luscious coat. So I'm trying to remember, I'm a bit rusty here. It was either the jackal, I think it was probably the jackal. And he's also had an encounter with fire in African folklore to get his black back. But the jackal got so sick and tired of the hippopotamus bullying everyone that the hippo was forcing all the animals to wait upon him and to bring him food and everything. And the only trip he used to do was down to the water's edge to see how beautiful he was. And if I remember correctly, the jackal was feigning adoration to the hippo, saying, "Oh, I build a fire, keep you warm." And he purposely set the hippo's coat alight. And the hippo caught alight and stormed off to the closest water hole, and where he plunged into the water. But he was quite far from the water, so that by the time he got there, his luscious locks had been burnt to a crisp. And he was this grotesque beast that you see before you. And after looking at himself in the reflection of the water, he was so embarrassed he decided to hide his great ugly frame in the water during the day and only venture out at night to eat when no one else could see how ugly he had become. If I remember correctly, I think that was a Zulu folklore. And there we go, living up to it, hiding himself in shame. Actually, in fact, he's probably hiding himself from the wind. Now, Andy is wondering, do hippos have any threats in the wild? Well, a big bull hippo like this, or even a young bull hippo, the biggest threat to them is actually other hippos. It's fighting for dominance over females in water holes. Outside of hippopotamus, there are only two creatures that are able to catch an adult hippo. The one being lions, and quite often it's a very specialized hunting tactic that lions use, and it's something they learn to bring down big animals like hippo, buffalo, and elephant. Now, of course, young hippo, there's an outside chance at crocodiles, but the only other animal I've actually physically seen successfully hunt hippo is large groups of spotted hyena, and I've seen a group of about 30 catch a hippo out of the water and harass it and bite it and take chunks out of it till the loss of blood caused the hippo to collapse. But again, unusual behavior, and only a big group of hyenas would be able to take on an adult hippo, bull or cow. But we're going to leave the hippo hiding his head in shame, and we're going to continue on to check. We're on Arathusa Private Game Reserve at the moment, and while we're going to go have a very close look at Arathusa, James is having an even closer look at something under the microscope.
That's a contrite James. That is having a look at something under the microscope. Let's have a look.
Putting his head.
Let's have a look. Shall we have a look? There we are. Okay, everyone. Now, this is a quiz. Well, it's not actually a quiz, no, because it's going to be too obvious. This is the tortoise shell we were looking at, and what I wanted to show you is how you age a tortoise, and to show you that it's not possible to age a tortoise. You will read in some, books of suspect quality, that the ridges on a tortoise's carapace, on the scoots, that's what we're looking at now, are a way to age a tortoise in the same way that one might age a tree. So you would look at this one and say, well, it's obviously 1, 2, 3, 4 years old. You would be wrong. Now, what these do is they are indicators of age and they're indicators of growth, but they're also much more interestingly indicators of times of boom and bust, if you like. So if you look at, let's try, in fact I'm going to move across a little bit to there. Let's look there. Right, now you can see there that there are ridges of different sizes. There are 4 ridges there, 1, 2, 3, 4. If you look at the top left hand or the left hand side of the screen where the black bit meets the gold bit there, you can see going from the bottom up you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 ridges there. But you can see that the second ridge is far wider than the third and the fourth and indeed the first. Now what that means is that that particular period of the tortoise's life was a very good one. It was eating a lot, which means it was growing faster. Then the other ridges, which are slightly narrower, indicate that the tortoise wasn't eating so well and possibly a drought. In fact, most likely it was a dry year when there wasn't as much to eat. And of course, the Spix-hinged tortoise is rather partial to fungus. It also eats, if I'm not mistaken, giant land snails every so often. So it would definitely, those two pieces of food, it also eats other vegetation, but those two kinds of food don't exist greatly in a drought. And so when you go towards a drought season, you can see that this tortoise didn't grow quite as fast as it did during the course of Ridge 2. And that's basically how they grow, which I think is quite clever. How long that took, we don't know. It could have been that the tortoise grew so fast during one of those periods, or those narrow periods. It could have grown so fast that they got bigger. It laid down 2 scoots or 2 rings in less than a season. I don't know, but it's not a good way to age them to say you just count the rings and that's how many years old it is. I think that's quite interesting, don't you, Jean-Andre? Are you fascinated beyond measure? Now, you moved this thing out of the way because you were very kindly trying to make a nice picture, but what you've done is you've lost the spider I was going to show everyone. He's lost the spider, everyone. Can you believe it? I mean, what do I have to deal with here? Myself included. No, I think it's gone. Okay, well, we'll have a look at a snake skin instead. Thank you, Jean-Andre.
Pleasure.
I suppose Steph did look at it earlier on today. Here is a snake skin. Now, what snake this belongs to, you could tell if you were a very decent herpetologist. And you can tell because of the different numbers of scales you can see under the eyes there. Those are the eyes, that's the head, obviously. But it is difficult to tell unless you've actually got a book with a key in it. So I think that this is probably a spotted bush snake. If I was to say, I don't think the eyes are big enough for it to be a boomslang or tree snake. A spotted bush snake, a similar shape, and they lurk around in the trees, and Brent very kindly found this for us today. And I don't know what it's going to look like under the microscope. I'm not sure that it's going to look particularly interesting. Well, let's just have a look-see. I'll focus in there. Well, it's quite interesting. Let's go and have a look there. And what is interesting, of course, you can see there, I think that's quite cool, you can see that the snake's skin is inside out. So all of those scales are inside out, which means as the snake crawled out of its skin in much the same way that you might turn a long sock inside out, so the snake turned its skin inside out as it crawled out. How cool is that? It's actually really nice to see. I didn't think that that was going to be quite so interesting. I'm just going to move it back slightly. And there you can see the scales of the head. And it's from those scales that you would actually, especially the ones over the nose there, that you would be able to tell exactly what species this was. So you count the scales around the eyes and around the nose, and you'd be able to figure out what it was. I think that's really quite cool. Marvellous. Good. Well, that was the snake skill. And he's not a very large snake. only about a foot long. But what you can be most assured of now, everybody, is that he is larger than this now, because he crawled out of the skin in order to grow, and that is why snakes crawl out of their skins. Now, Jamie Patterson is an elegant antelope, as you know, but she doesn't have a very elegant animal at all, something of a galumphing animal to show you.
James is correct, I suppose, although I think there's a certain elegance to the way that elephants walk. And we've arrived back at the lion sighting at the perfect time, with this young bull on his way to have a drink at Buffelshoek Dam. And his entrance was particularly tentative, and I think that he knows that there are lions somewhere here. He can smell them, and he can most definitely smell that carcass, and he just made sure that there was nothing too scary around before making his approach. Of course, our lions are not a major threat to an animal this size. The chances of the Nkuhuma hunting this elephant bull are basically next to nothing. But he wouldn't mind chasing them every now and again, as we've seen many times with elephants. They most definitely resent the presence of any predators, whether they be wild dogs, leopards, and lions. Here we go, getting the fast-paced water walk as gravity hits and he has to go downhill. There we go. Watch him speed up now. Oh. So he stops just because I said that. It's alright, boy. You're okay. Copy, thanks, Abel. Sorry, everybody. Here we go. That was quite a well-controlled descent along the Buffelshoek Dam wall and down to the water. Using his trunk to sift away the top layer and then reach to the fresher, cleaner water underneath, and stopping for a big drink. Now, the lovely thing is that he's actually not on his own. There is a second bull that... Oh, there's actually... Hold on a moment. You'll see them just now. We'll wait for one of the vehicles to move past them, and then we'll show you. There's a second bull on his way. Oh, a one-tusked wonder. And the second one. He's only got his right tusk. He doesn't have his left. And then he's also going to make that tentative approach. See that rocking motion? You always see it in elephants that are feeling a little bit indecisive about what they're going to do and where they're going to go. They stop and they rock, usually their front foot backwards and forwards a few times. You can see their mind sort of ticking away before they move on and make a decision. Oh, this is going to be absolutely stunning. Donovan, who is 8 years old. Hello, Donovan. Thank you so much for sending through your question. We love hearing from some of our younger viewers. Donovan has asked a very good question, which is, how do you age an elephant? Now, these I've said are two young bulls. Donovan, it's pretty tricky. So when they're little, it's quite easy to age an elephant. Look at these two checking each other out. When they're little, when they're baby elephants, it's quite easy, because they grow in a sort of very typical manner. Oh, here comes another one. She's also only got one tusk. In this case, I think a female, but here we go, Donovan. Look at her forehead. Look between her eye and her half an ear. She's only got half an ear as well. Now you see where the skin goes in between the eye and the ear? That's one of the ways that you can age an elephant, because as they start to get older, those bumps become more and more easy to see. So it's almost like the dents get bigger. Look at this elephant. She's lost more than half her ear. In fact, she's only got about a third of an ear. I think I've seen her before, though. Now, this is a female, as opposed to the males. You'll see the difference in shape. Sorry, Donovan. So that in terms of elephants getting older, kind of like people, you know how people start to get wrinkles and their bones become a little bit clearer? Well, it's the same with elephants, and the older they get, the clearer those dents get. Here come two little ones down to join in. How lovely. Not just two males at all, but a little breeding herd. Now, this is an elephant that will be very, very recognizable when we next see her, with only a third of an ear. And that could have happened. She might have had a really nasty scratch or an injury that then got infected. Since the skin of the ear is much, much thinner than it is elsewhere on an elephant, it becomes infected slightly more easily, and usually we see that in the form of little nicks or cuts or U-shapes out of the ears. But in this case, it's particularly severe. Something happened. She's walking the division between what I like to call Buffelshoek Minor and Buffelshoek Major, and decided to drink in the Buffelshoek Minor. So now, Donovan, let's go back to your question. Now we're looking at little babies. What do we think this one is? So when a baby elephant is under a year old, he's usually about as high as its mom's stomach. When they're about 3 years old, their tusks start to grow, and they start to sort of grow past the skin so that we can see them. So if I had to guess, Donovan, I would say that the elephant on the left here is probably coming up to 2.5, 3 years old. Let's just wait for it to turn its head, see if it's got any tusks popping out. Yes, it does. So I would put that elephant at about 3 years old. And then the one that we were looking at before, maybe about 4.5, 5 years old. So it's just a matter of practice and seeing different elephants grow. And of course, every single individual will be different, Donovan. Just like maybe you have friends that are taller or shorter than you. Maybe some of you grew faster than others. Elephants will be exactly the same. Trying to catch up with Mom, who has wandered off and is actually quite far away from her two little ones. And the lions are pretty fortunate that the elephants chose the route they did, or perhaps that was a deliberate choice by the elephants. They are such amazingly perceptive and intelligent creatures. She probably knew they were there the whole time. And the two young bulls following behind. I wonder if this is all the elephants, or if there's more of them that have been ahead or behind this particular group. Perhaps these are stragglers. An elephant parade. Now, Jane, a little bit earlier we were discussing about how clearly recognizable this particular female is. And I think she's about to come even closer to us, so we could have a look at her. Hello, big girl. I don't know you. Sorry, Jane, I'll get you in 1 second. So you wanted to know how she might have come to have lost most of her ear. And I think the answer is most likely it's unlikely to be an escape from a predator, although that is possible. But it's most likely she ripped and nicked the skin somehow, maybe on a thorn tree, something like that it caught on, which elephants do every now and again. That's what causes those identifying features on their ears, whether it's a nick or a cut or a little flap. But in her case, perhaps this one was particularly bad. Also, it might have been that once she did cut it, the ticks started settling in and infesting. We've seen elephants without any tails before, which we suspect has been caused by ticks. So perhaps ticks settled on an injury, perhaps it got seriously infected. Oh, look at these two. Having a little skirmish. High spirits on a cool afternoon. So most likely the infection or action of ticks probably just caused it to move through the thin skin of the ear and eventually rot off. That would be my most likely suggestion. It could have happened in other ways, but that's unlikely. In the meantime, these two demonstrating how perhaps young bulls come across the injuries that they often have, whether it's this little puncture wound. We saw one yesterday on the sunset safari with a puncture wound on his bottom. These gentle adolescent games are never, or very seldom, all that serious. Although you can see the one on the right is much bigger than his opponent. Oh, but he's lost the advantage of high ground. Oh, and he's given up for now. Just gentle displays of dominance, looking to find their place in the greater scheme of elephant life, and practicing the skills that they'll need later in life. I don't think you want to come and take out your bad temper on me, mister. Just because you lost the fight. Look at that. Oh, that was terribly agile. Oh, straight to the top of the nose. You can see they're not putting their all into it at the moment. Quite gentle pushing. The one on the right, despite being bigger, conceding once again. Okay, as they move off, let's head across. We're going to head across the lines. Oh, never mind. As they head off, we'll head off with them and go backwards a little bit to see them as they pop back out above the dam wall. I mentioned to the one elephant that perhaps it would be better if he didn't come and take his bad mood out on me. And that's because I've had a few experiences with young bulls playing where one loses, and the loser often does that very human thing of then attempting to make himself feel better by intimidating whoever happens to be closest, which in that couple of occasions has been me. Ah, they put themselves right behind a bush. Hello, guys. I'm just going to shift around here slightly. Hi, big girl. Hey, big girl. How are you? Now, as we look at our elephant with a third of an ear, Sean, you were wondering if she would take longer to cool down. And yes, I guess she would. In fact, absolutely she would, because of course those ears serve such an important function in terms of keeping an elephant cool. They're essentially inbuilt air conditioners. And if she's only got one functioning one instead of two, then yes, she would take a little bit longer to cool down. But judging by her size and the fact that she's quite an old elephant, she's not a young cow, I would say that obviously it hasn't caused her too much in the way of discomfort. Look at these two. Pushing and shoving. Oh, he's getting cross. Okay. Now that our Ellie bulls have calmed down once again, let's head across to Steph, who's got something beautiful to show you.
We definitely have one of those first signs of summer. We've got one. Not quite the weeping boer bean that I was looking for, but definitely a boer bean. This is the dwarf boer bean on a not so dwarf stick, to be quite honest with you. This is probably the largest dwarf boer bean that I know of at Djuma, and probably one of the biggest ones that I've ever seen in my life. Let me show you. 6 foot tall. This is easily about 8 foot or so tall, and let me show you what they're supposed to look like. This is what a dwarf boer bean is supposed to look like. This is how they normally are. So this is what one is supposed to look like. How crazy is that? Tiny little dwarf boer bean that for some reason or another has just escaped everything. Isn't that fantastic? And you can see how we noticed it out here in the bush. Just this absolute spray of color. And one of those other heralds of summer, the ones that flower first. Now just on the other side of us over here, we've actually got another one of those summertime plants that I enjoy so much, and it is the most intense citrusy, jasmine-y smell that you can imagine. This is a num num. Carissa bispinosa is its name, and have a look at all these flowers. These little white flowers smell exactly like orange blossom, orange blossomy, jasmine-y mixture of just a heady scent that just sort of travels through the bush over here. You can see this particular spine where it gets its name from, the bispinosa, the two spines, and is one of the very few fruiting trees that we get here that produces a milky latex and which you can actually eat the fruit of. So this particular tree, it's generally a rule of thumb, if a tree's got a fruit and you break it open and there's a little bit of latex there. Let me see if I can actually get some latex here for you, show you what latex is. See if it's early enough in the season, late enough in the season to get us some. So let's see. No latex. You should be able to see it coming out of the green part there, just a little bit. That's just because there's not so much water out here just yet anymore, and the trees are not leaking latex. But anyway, the fruit has a latex, but you can eat it. So rule of thumb is, don't eat any fruit that have a milky substance that comes out of it, unless it is a num-num and you know it's a num-num, and you can pop them into your mouth. They've got a very, very pleasant taste, and you can literally get enough to fill your belly for breakfast over here, at least anyway. Another bush that gives you a lovely berry that you can eat in summertime is the guari bush. This one right here. This is the magic guari, or Euclea divinorum, and this will also produce not a greenish berry that goes purple. This will produce a green berry that goes this light blue color, or this darky blue color when it's absolute at its ripest, and big sprays, big bunches of berries that this produces. And then we've got the white berry bush as well. This bush as well can also produce a fruit that you can eat. So this bush will get this big white, or not big white berries, or these bunches of white berries, and you can pop them into your mouth as well. So right here we've had a lot of fruiting trees that could keep you going for a day or so, at least anyway, and it's quite nice. You see that these are now right. Let's look for some more, actually. Genevieve, you've just said that you once showed a flower called the pride of the carp, and you wanted to know when it was going to flower again. Yes, Genevieve, absolutely. The pride of the cape, or pride of the carp, is a flower that flowers over here on the drainage lines in summertime, and we can expect to see the first ones in about November, and they will become these red sprays of flowers that sort of blanket these bushes around us and in front of us, actually, as we go closer to the drainage line. So yes, we do get them over here. Hopefully we'll be able to show you some as well as we go deeper into the season. They just flower a little bit later on than now. Here we've got another pan. Oh, and there's a massive one. There's a considerable pan. And here we've got, oh, there's just so much around over here. This is a little plant, one of my favorites, called cordage. Is a natural fiber that you can use to make whatever, rope or stuff for decorative baskets. But this leaf is collected by the local Shangaan ladies and used as a baby's wet wipe. You can see there, have a look at that fine fuzz that you can see on the actual leaf itself. And the local ladies will collect handfuls of this and put it into their pockets and use it as baby bottom wet wipes. I might actually pick some, use them for my nose. Not quite the same effect at mopping up the last vestiges of my flu, but nevertheless, on that note, I send you over to James in the tent.
Right, I have a special map to show you, everybody, drawn by our very fearless leaver, Mr. Graham Warlington. Here it is. This is Djuma. Isn't that very special? I think it's rather splendid myself. Now, what I wanted to show you was where the lion kill was, and that's at Buffelshoek Dam. There is Buffelshoek Dam. Now, I know many of you have often wondered about the orientation of Djuma and Cheetah Plains in Arethusa, and eventually Mr. Graham Van Gogh Wallington will produce the equivalent for Cheetah Plains in Arethusa, but the Lion Killer's around there, and Jamie's over there, so that's, you can see, is the northeast corner. North is towards the top, where my stick is pointing, and therefore south is to the bottom, east to the right, and, well, to the west is left. Then I'm trying desperately to try and figure out where Steph is. So while Kirsten tells me, and then I'll point him out to you, Oki wants to know how far away Arethusa is from Djuma Lodge. Well, here's the Djuma Lodge, and there are two lodges here. One is Galago and one is Vuyatela. Vuyatela's there. That's the one that you can see sometimes from the dam cam when the zoomy spins all the way to the left. And Galago is more secluded just behind, and that's where we live over there. That's where we live. And Arethusa, if you were to take the most direct route to Arethusa, you would follow my stick, Chandri. Are you following my stick? You would go along like this, Zoe's Road, all the way down here, onto the Gari main road, and then you'd go along, you'd turn down like that. You'd turn towards Gendre, you'd go along a little bit, and basically where Gendre was standing, you'd be sitting in Arethusa Lodge there like that. So as the crow flies, probably not much more than sort of 3 kilometers or so, which is roughly 600 meters, and 600 meters is 1,200 meters, 1.8, yes, miles. 1.8 miles, you'd say. Thank you very much, Gendre. It's the first useful thing you've done all day. Well done. Then the other thing to show you, apart from where Steph is, and I have just heard where he is, but it was also where Thandi was. Now, if we go into Cheetah Plains, you come along the same road here on the south, and you keep going along here, and like I say, we will have this eventually. Thandi is somewhere over there, and that means we can't go north or south, because that's out of our traversing area, but Cheetah Plains is basically where my chair is. Okay. Now, shortly we will have proper maps that we won't have to move furniture and genre to show you where we are. Steph is at a place called Chelapan, and Chelapan is here, and is very aptly labelled, in fact, Chelapan. And Chela, or Nchela in Shangaan, is a frog, and that's why that's called Chelapan. I'm not sure how many frogs there are actually at Chelapan. Right, now, the next thing to do, of course, is tell you that our very good friend, Ronald the Rover, my battery pack just detached itself and gave me a headache. Anyway, you can still hear me. Ronald the Rover is back up and running, everyone, and I'm going to drive him now. Let's go and have a look at him now. There we go. That was very clever. Well done, Kirsten or Rebecca. There he is. There's not much to show you at the waterhole at the moment, and that is because, of course, it's not very hot, and at the moment it's actually not very dry, and so as the drought season continues to wane, so it will be that we don't find a huge number of sort of buffalo and elephant coming down towards the waterhole there. There is a little bit of droplet you can see, or a couple of bubbles going in the water, and that is probably largely as a result of maybe terrapins. I don't think there are fish there. That even looks like the old droplet of rain, but I think there's probably a bit too much wind for there to be proper rain now. Let's just go along like this. Now, of course, the Russian's heart is in his mouth because he's convinced I'm going to drive this thing into the pan. He's probably not entirely without... oh, there's a guinea fowl. Look at them coming down to drink, everyone. Can you see them? Guinea fowls coming down to drink. They're just on the sort of slopey left-hand side. Let me move a little bit, and I'll try and get into this gap here and try and not flip Ronald over. That will make the Russian very cross. There come the guineas. No, they're behind the rock now. Right, let's go across to the dam cam view, everybody. And there you can see the guinea fowl. Oh, that's quite nice. Look at that. There they are. So I can now see them. I can't see where Ronald is. To challenge Ronald to get up a very steep thing. Oh, he's got up. Goodness gracious, that's impressive. Now, we'll try and approach the guinea fowl and see what they do, shall we? I don't think they'll be particularly terrified, and I'm not worried to approach a bird like this because I know that a bird will, well, it might run away, but it'll come back eventually, and I don't think they're particularly water stressed at the moment. So now I can't see where the rover is because the zoomy is not on the rover. Oh, where is he? There he is. Thank you. Well done, zoomy. Now let's go. There's Ronald. He's now going to make some new friends, everybody. The guinea fowl. George, the guinea fowl, I'm sure. No, which way is he going? I'm turning him the wrong way. I can't see what's going on. It's all the damn cam feed is delayed by about 2 seconds. There we go. Now he's approaching his new friends, the guinea fowl, George, Gwendoline, Guinevere, Geraldine. Come on, they want to be your friends. Don't run away. And they're all running away from Ronald, I'm afraid. We'll just turn slightly to the right and get a look at the last ones. This is ridiculous. There they are. There we are. We got some guinea fowls. They don't like Ronald at all. They think he's a bit of a loser. Don't leave him. He can't fly. He's slow. He can't keep up. You need to come and say hello to him. Oh well. Snobby, foul guinea fowl they are. Oh well. Right, good. So those are some of the new things we have, and of course what I will do over here eventually is draw some territories and things, but that'll be when we've probably got Cheetah Plains and Arethusa. It's a beautiful map. We're very happy to have it. Let's head across to Stefan Winterboer, who's got a tweet. Ooh.
Never ceases to amaze me, Brent, in his sound effects. But yes, we have got a tui-tui, or whatever you were saying. That's a barred owlet that you're having a look at there, everybody. That is one of South Africa's dwarf owls, or pygmy owls, as we like to call it, the owlets. And you can just see this little guy sitting on his branch over there. Now we are going to zoom out. Oh, no, we were going to zoom out. No, we still are. Let's see where he lands. Okay, come with me. Let's go out a little bit and see if we can. We're not going to sneak up on this owlet, to be quite honest. We want to see if we can get a little bit closer, that we can show you his eyes. He's got the most beautiful sulfur yellow eyes. Let's see. No, wanting to fly away. Come on, Xander, let's see if we can go and find him. So owlets are different to the bigger owls that we have in this particular area in that they line their nests. They also nest in holes in trees, and they line the nests with leaves. Now the larger owls don't do that. And I always thought that the pygmy owls or the dwarf owls were called that because they're small. They're no bigger than this, really. Whereas all the larger owls are probably this big and even bigger. I mean, the Pell's fishing owl and the giant or the Verreaux's eagle owl are 90 centimeter large birds. But it's because they line their nest. That's one of the differentiating features of these little owlets. Well, let's see if we can find where he's gone in. All right. So if we bend down just to the... where are you going? Obviously he doesn't want to be seen. Well, let's see, one more chance. One more chance. It has landed in the tree. We're going to see if we can get into this gap in front of us over here. And then we'll try and go down onto one knee right here. We won't face him this time. Come forward a little bit, and there in the gap. You can see him over there. Got him. Let's go in, just focus a little bit. We are coming to on foot in the middle of Nkuhuma Private Game Reserve. That's why it's a little bit shaky. There you go. Look at that. Got him. Barred owlet with those beautiful eyes. Have a look at those sulfur colored eyes. Well done. Insectivorous little bird. Will hunt mainly insects, locusts, termites. We'll go for things like mice and shrews as well. There we go. The super zoom in action. And gone. And we'll leave it at that. What a fantastic sighting of the little barred owlet. I'm so glad that we managed to find him for you. We actually located him by sound first, and then as we got down to the river, we saw him silhouetted in the tree. Alright, without further ado, Brent has some buffalo for you.
Well, we found a small breeding herd of buffalo, and out of all the animals, they're still looking like they haven't quite picked up that much condition, even with this little bit of rain. Now they do need to eat a lot, so I guess there's probably around 60 or 70 of them here, and there's some particularly old females. And one thing you're noticing with the drought is the lack of babies. Normally you always see young ones with the herds, and I've been watching this herd for quite a while now. No sign of any babies. Now they're generally the first, them and the oldest, but there seem to be a couple of old cows in this group that are just hanging on. Well, there we go. She's actually looking quite well compared to some of the others. You can see the hips are still showing a little bit. There's an old. Now, from the tracks, I think there was a much larger herd that came into Djuma last night, and then they got bombshelled by the Nkuhumas last night. And the Nkuhumas obviously were successful in catching a buffalo and a young female. Could have even been out of this very group we're with at the moment. And you can see the ribs are still showing, but they should start picking up condition now, especially as the grass comes through. Now it's really great to have a nice herd of buffalo move through and kick up the dirt, plant all the fertilizer. So if it rains again, we might even get a second flush of grass. Now, when we're going to sit here, you never know if there could be a Birmingham boy who might come pouncing out after these buffalo, especially in this wind. So we're going to sit here, spend a bit more time. But the buffalo are also used for toys by certain creatures. Let's go have a look.
And back with a slightly unluckier buffalo, all three Nkuhuma lionesses, or 3 out of the 4 Nkuhuma lionesses, are still tucking into their meal, and one small buffalo is no longer going very far between all 12 Nkuhumas that are here. Amber Eyes is not here, is what I've decided. I haven't seen hide nor hair of her, so perhaps she is off with... Ooh, still fighting over it. Perhaps she is off with one of the Birmingham boys. One very brave little cub getting in the middle of those 2 lionesses. Oh, I'm not sure I would be that brave, to be honest. Would you, Viam? No.
Those girls.
No, not with those girls. Exceptionally proficient. In the meantime, some of the cubs have tired of attempting to fight their way into a buffalo carcass and are instead playing in this amazing setting in which they find themselves. The perfect jungle gym. There's trees everywhere, there's a slope, there's other lionesses that they can jump on, there's a scapula to play with, and then of course each other. Endless entertainment. Now imagine poor lionesses with just one cub, because just one cub wouldn't have any energy outlets, it would have to play all by itself. But these little guys have company and companionship, plonk, on top of their shoulder blade. Gunk. That scapula has provided endless entertainment. Now, Red Dog, speaking of Amber Eyes, you wanted to know if Amber Eyes does have cubs now, will they be safe from the older cubs? Yes, they will be. Obviously, that's the big reason why, one of the big reasons why lionesses keep their cubs away from the rest of the pride until they are slightly more solid and resilient in terms of being able to cope with the boisterousness of older cubs. Because yes, if cubs are introduced too soon, there are recorded cases of older cubs accidentally playing a little bit too rough and killing younger cubs. They just don't know really their own strength. or indeed occasionally how to coordinate all 4 legs at one time, which admittedly is fair enough. I can barely coordinate 2 of mine. So yes, they could be, but it's very, very unlikely, especially with amber eyes. They're so cute. It's just endless entertainment. So what Amber Eyes will do is she will only introduce them at about 6 weeks. You might even find she might wait a little bit longer with this many boisterous older cousins bouncing about. Perhaps she might decide that it will be worth spending a little bit of time with them, away from the rest of the pride. But once they've reached a certain age, I have to tell you that lion cubs are exceptionally resilient. And we saw that one with the limping leg. Oh, sorry, not with the limping leg. The limping one with the injured leg is where I was trying to go with that. And I mean, that little one was barely older than about 3 or so months. And we were all so worried about it. And then it was fine. Absolutely fine. So they're very tough little creatures. This one is thinking about going to join in with the rest of the carcass. Oh, got your tail. As far as these cubs are concerned, their mum's tail exists purely for entertainment purposes. Oh, just a little cub bite her. Nearly got sat on, so it nipped her just to show that it was there. I almost wonder if the little ones don't grow up slightly tougher, just because they are the smallest and they have to hold their own in quite a boisterous family. Oh, I had a special... Oof. Ew. That little cub nearly got a smack. Oh, sorry, little one. No dinner for you. Not giving up, though. Perhaps I'll have more like this side now, and I'll just sit down, wait my turn. And with that... Oh, I remember what I was going to say. I was going to say I had a special mission planned for this afternoon, and that was to try and get screenshots of age group and males and females and so on, and whisker spot patterns, just so that we can keep track of them a little bit in the future. But I think it's going to be very tricky in this particular situation, since they're not always looking. Trying to get them to stay still, it's a sort of a bit cats at the moment, to try and keep track of all of the different ones. They're scampering about the place. This is just the best day. Ooh, his back tail thrashing. It's my scapula. Oh. What I find quite thoroughly entertaining is occasionally one of the cubs will jump onto the back of the other one, and the one that's been jumped on doesn't even acknowledge it. Oh, angry Ellies. I'd prefer it if the Ellies didn't come and chase the lions right now. We've got such a wonderful sighting, and we're sort of between a rock and a hard place. I just heard an elephant screaming off in the distance. Lions couldn't be less bothered. And if they're not concerned, I'm not concerned for now. Oopsie! Oopsie, careful! You nearly got your paw stuck in the tree. Oh! Ouch! Scapula to the face. Like a shield. It is amazing watching them play, watching their coordination develop, and occasionally go wrong. And of course, all of this invaluable in terms of building up their muscle strength and their skills. Tug of war. I wish these bushes weren't in the way. I almost want to go a little bit further. Let me try and get a bit further forward. I want to try and get you to be able to see this. Can you see there, Vian? A little bit. Okay, I think that's me done. Kate, while we watch our adorable cubs play... Oh, you're so strong. You wanted to know at what age the cubs will be safe from a male takeover or another male coalition takeover. the last Nkuhuma sub-adults were just so unlucky. They were just on the cusp, and the one died. The other is now the youngest female of the Nkuhuma pride. She's now a full-blown adult. So it's usually at around 1.5 to 2 years of age. Safest would be about 2 for female cubs, because at that point they are almost about to start going into their first estrus cycles, and therefore it's not worth the while. And their mothers are about to go back into estrus as well. So then it's not worth new males killing them to bring the females back into estrus faster. But as we saw with the Birmingham boys, with a young male coalition, that didn't work out exactly for the youngest members of the Nkuhuma pride when the Birmingham boys took over. And I think one of the lionesses lost her life in defense of one of those that young lioness as well. Now, that being said, young males, on the other hand, are never really safe. So once, obviously, the initial stages, they could risk being killed to bring their mothers back into estrus. Oh, such angry little cubs, trying to fight for its place in the carcass. So young males are at risk when they're young of being killed. When they reach sexual maturity, they're competition for other male coalitions. Although as long as they run away, they're not going to be... Don't you hate it when a branch gets stuck between your toes? And then when they're older and when they're away from the pride, then they just run the risk of being killed by either a dominant male coalition or another nomadic group of lions. So life is very tough for a male lion. For now, it's amazing to just be able to enjoy these precious moments of fun and innocence from these little cubs. We know that whatever the future may hold, it's not going to be an easy road for them. They're wild lions and nature is tough. But it's amazing to enjoy these special times. Standing by. Copy, copy. Thanks, Ephraim. I'm going to see if Brent is closer. Sorry, everybody. Something exciting's just come up. And Karula is reported to have crossed. Karula, the Queen of Djuma, has just crossed into Boyatella. And Brent is racing on his way to get there. Hopefully he will manage to catch up with the Queen shortly. So that's what that conversation was about. Now, I could race across, but I can guarantee that Brent will get there first. He's just closer, so we're going to send him across in that direction. So everybody, hold thumbs. We've had Thandi and her cubs. We've had the Nkuhumas keeping us thoroughly entertained. Hold thumbs that now we're going to have a moment to spend with the Queen of Djuma as well. Perhaps even her adorable 2 cubs on their birthday. Well, their month birthday. Tail is as irresistible to a lion cub as a ball of wool is to a domestic house cat. Oh! Those poor lion cub's neck. That was an impressive gymnastic move that happened there. I'm not even entirely sure how that lion cub managed it. Full on roll. We've got to enjoy these moments while we can, and spend as much time as possible with these lions as we can. Because as these cubs get older, they're going to spend more and more time traveling. Is that the buffalo? Yeah, that's the buffalo's tail. Pull! Pull! Oh. Ooh. That's a cub growling. But yes, as they get bigger, as they get stronger, the lionesses are going to start utilizing more of their normal home range, which means that we won't get to spend as much time with them. Just remember spending as much time as possible with the hyenas, only to have them leave us for a really extended period of time. Oh, ho, ho. It's been a long, hard day. That scapula again. Last buffalo kill, it was the trachea. This time it's the scapula. Meal and entertainment all thrown into one. I'm going to stick with these lines as long as possible. Let's go across and see what Steph has found for you this time.
Catch me hugging one of these termite mounds. It's gotten a little bit cold over here, and we've just come here to warm up our hands at this chimney. This chimney has been opened, probably by a bird that was pecking on the edge of this chimney throughout the day, because I can see that it has been broken off. You can actually see here's some of the leftover pieces that were obviously on the edge here. And what a lot of times hornbills and even francolin will come and peck open the sides of these termite mounds, causing the termites to rush out and then start the repair. And I think because there's such a distinctive lack of termites here at the moment, the termites have all realized they couldn't win this particular battle and have gone down inside, but it's given us this opportunity for an open chimney to warm up our hands and our fingers. The warm air that's coming out here at the moment is substantial. If I were to liken it to something on a cold day like this, it feels like if you've left your kettle on a little bit too long, or you've left your kettle, made your cup of coffee and come back again, and you put your hands at the spout, that little bit of warm air that you feel over there is about what I'm feeling over here now. It's just this brilliant way of keeping your fingertips warm while it's getting a bit. Now obviously, a hole like this, low down like this on a termite mound, is a danger for snakes. Snakes are cold-blooded, and they will enjoy the warmth that a termite mound affords them. And it is a very big danger, me sticking my fingers like this into this termite mound without keeping an eye on what's going to come out there. Snakes are deaf, so they wouldn't be able to hear me talking. It doesn't matter if I was shouting. They would have felt us walking up onto the side of this termite mound. Now, generally speaking, a deep dark hole like this is where they want to be. That's where they're feeling safe and secure, unless there was a bigger snake in there, of course. And the snake will come out. What I'm scared of over here, mambas, black mambas, Mozambican spitting cobras. Ooh, what else have we got over here? The snout cobra living inside termite mounds like this. And it's, in actual fact, one of the herpetologists' ways of finding out or finding snakes. They take a pick and pick open these termite mounds. I don't enjoy doing that whatsoever. It's obviously not ecologically sustainable. But anyway, on that note, while I'm keeping myself warm, hugging my little chimney and trying not to get black mamba'd in the face, I'm going to send you over to James in his tent.
I'm not sure that to be black mamba'd is actually... I have been black mamba'd. I'm not sure that that's an English term one can use, but I suppose if a black mamba does come out of there and pucks him underneath the eye, well then I suppose we can use the term Steph was black mamba'd. Right, I have been exploring, and I went around and I went over there and I went around there, and then I realized that I actually wanted to show you something that is found in great swarms in our bedrooms. So I ran back to the camp quickly. I took Jean-André's very special electric tennis racket and I zapped what I'm going to show you now as a cloud of them emerged from underneath my guitar case. This, everybody, is the vector of disease responsible for more deaths in Africa than any but a foul mosquito. Sorry, you lost audio there. Not a hippopotamus, as I was saying. Have you got audio? Audio is good. That is a mosquito. This particular one is not a malaria-carrying mosquito. It's something called a house mosquito. We know that from the striping on the abdomen there. And also, when it is at rest, a mosquito like this sits with its abdomen parallel to the ground. It's not alive, that's the wind blowing, but even if it wasn't alive, it's a mosquito. We wouldn't mind it suffering a little bit. Its abdomen is parallel with the substrate that it's standing on. If you are being bitten by a malarial mosquito, the big thing to watch out for is the fact that the angle of the abdomen will be upright, so it will kind of tilt its backside away from you as it sucks blood from you and puts malaria into your body. Beastly things. Now, you will notice that it is missing part of its middle leg. There it is. I think I may have chopped it off by mistake with the microscope. Again, I feel no sympathy whatsoever for this thing. But what I will tell you is that although this particular mosquito is seemingly harmless, I told you it doesn't carry malaria, it's called a house mosquito, it is a vector of two other rather nasty diseases, one of which is yellow fever. Now, that will make you feel pretty sick indeed. The other is elephantitis. Now, I don't know if you've ever seen anyone with elephantitis. It looks like a deeply, deeply uncomfortable disease to have. It's basically when your feet and hands and your joints, I think, get very, very large indeed, and you look slightly elephantine. Anyway, those two diseases don't really occur in the region, and so it's highly unlikely that this one would have it. So, let's go back to me. Now, that is a member of the family, of the order Diptera. Now, those are the flies, and I've got two other members of the order Diptera here with them. And then I've got a hymenopterid that I want to show you. Now, this particular dipterid we were unable to identify, but that's a rather special fly. Isn't that nice? And you can see there, what's particularly impressive about this fly is that you can see the 6 legs are coming out of the thorax. Now, for those of you who don't know, an insect is made up of 3 parts. So to the top right of your screen there is the abdomen. Then you get the thorax, where the legs are coming out of there. And the other bit, of course, is the head. That's bottom left. And that particular head, well, that's the kind of thing you see in a horror film. Now, take note specifically at the fact that this fly, this dipterid, has got only 1 pair of wings. That is distinctive of the flies or dipterids. Sorry, I didn't warn you there, Kirsten. It's come back to me. There we are. Well done, everybody. One more dipterid for you. And this one is a particularly sort of a disgusting-looking fly. It's the kind of fly that will create a lot of maggots. Let me just find it exactly. There we are. He's got such lovely eyes, believe it or not. There we go. Have a look at his eyes. That is so cool. And although he's got our starling-coloured eyes, he's got a bit hairy about the shoulder there, you can see. He's got some magnificent colours. I never thought I'd see the day that I said a fly was beautiful, but, well, I suppose everything has relative beauty. Now, what you can see there, as I focus in, is the buds of wings. Okay, so they don't have proper forewings. They've only got the hind wings. And I'll just quickly move around to show you them. There they are there. Those are the wings. Now, on a hymenopterid, which is a bee or a wasp, or indeed this thing here, that is an ant, that is a hymenopterid. They don't have wings, of course. Some of them do when they start to fly, when they're breeding. Okay, let's come back to me, Kirsten. I've lost all the animals. Right, so the difference between a hymenopterid and a dipterid, if you're wondering if you're looking at a fly or a wasp or a bee, you need to count the wings. And it actually sounds ridiculous, but it's actually quite easy to see. If you watch a bee fly, you can see that they've got 2 sets of wings. If you watch a wasp fly, you can see they've got 2 sets of wings. One is much longer than the other, but that's what they are. So hymenoptera, wasps, bees, and ants. The dipterids, or the diptera, with 1 set of wings, would be the flies and the mosquitoes. Let's head back to the lions and find out how the little Nkuhuma cubbies are doing.
The little cubbies are doing just fine. In fact, for now, the play seems to have relaxed a little bit, although I say that, and they've immediately all got up again. They were snoozing for a while. Let's just go back to this lioness. I've just realized she's not this... Oh, that's cute as well. Now I don't know where to look, because that's also adorable. But the one lioness is fast asleep. She's not eating. That lioness with her head down is asleep on the buffalo. And the other lioness is trying to eat around her. Oh, there we go. She's up again. Every time the one lioness moved the carcass, her head would just kind of half lift. Oh, too many things to look at. I don't know where to look. That's cute. That is too cute. Mom makes the best pillow, huh? Or aunt. It's now impossible to tell which is which. Helping Mom clean the rest of the buffalo off her. And Fiona in the UK, having spoken a little bit about what age the cubs will be safest. Fiona, thank you for your question. You want to know when will the females start mating again. And it's usually around just over, when the cubs are just over 18 months, that the females will go back into estrus. And again, remember, just like with Shadow and Garuda and our other big cats, it is dependent upon the individual. But it's usually around when the cubs are around a year and a half, or just over a year and a half, that the females will start to mate once again with the males. So it's actually quite an extended period of time, considering that they are not lactating for most of that. Now it is interesting in a way that lionesses give such a long period of care to their little ones. Well, I suppose we see it with leopards as well, big cats, and with elephants, and to an extent with hyenas as well. So the predators do spend a lot of time caring for their offspring. Wild dog, on the other hand, will breed once a year, pretty much at the same time. So around the sort of September period, early September, maybe even late August, the females will give birth once a year. But then I suppose they have, well, so do lions. I was going to say wild dogs have lots of helpers to help them raise their litter, but so do lions in a way. Come to associate that wow sound. Oh, look at that. Look at that. That's awesome. Baby Phlegm and Grimace. It's amazing how that instinct is there from such a young age. Ow! That's a sound that I always associate with begging. So the face that that little cub pulled, all mammals do. I don't really want to talk now because the sounds are amazing. Hold on. I'll come back to it. No, as I said that, the cub went silent. So that phlegm and grimace, all mammals do it, or most mammals do it, to pull the scent into the vomeral nasal organ, basically drag the scent particles there. It opens up the passageway, allowing them to taste the smell. It's fascinating. There we go, he's going to do it again. Oh, bless you. That's a begging sound. Come on, Mom. Let me suckle. And as I said, most of the lion, or at least two of the lionesses, their milk is now drying up, and they've stopped lactating. They're still allowing the cubs to feed every now and again, but you can even see it. Physically, you can see it. Their nipples are not nearly as prominent. The suckle marks are still there, but they're mostly dry. And they are still letting the cubs suckle every now and again, but not nearly as frequently. There we go. Tucking in for a meal. Now, our time with these lions is limited, unfortunately, by the light. As you know, Jigger hasn't got infrared, hasn't got the setup for infrared. So once it does get too dark, there's the scapula again. Once it does get too dark, we will have to leave the sighting, since the cubs are still too young to have spotlights on them. So we will be leaving. How long do you think we've got, Liam? Another 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 10 minutes max. And we will have to pull out of the sighting. In fact, I don't think we're going to make 10 minutes. Whew. Look at that angry little cub at the back. So young, and still capable of fighting so fiercely. I've been keeping a close eye on all 8 cubs to see how they're doing. And Valeria, you wanted to know if all of them are in good condition. And yes, they all look in good condition. There's not one cub while I've been sitting here that I've thought, oh, that cub's not looking as energetic as the others, not playing as much. There's a couple of scabs on them, and they are covered in buffalo, so it's difficult to know where it begins and ends. But for the most part, all 8 of them have been... Oh, yes, so very scary. All 8 of them have been bouncing around full of energy. Definitely looking in good condition, round bellies. And yes, they are starting to look a little bit thin, but that's just because they're growing so fast. It's not that they're not getting enough nutrients. Their bellies are still round. It's just like a teenager going through a growth spurt. Patient females. An almost reflexive snarl and growl. As soon as one goes, the other does. Feeding time at the Nkuhuma's dinner table is not a quiet affair, nor is it a tidy one. Everybody walks away with full bellies, dirty faces and paws and chests. But the one thing they don't walk away with, despite their mealtime manners, they don't walk away with any grudges. The females can batter each other about at the dinner table, and then return, lie down in one big pile, groom each other, wash each other's faces, rub each other's heads. They all just know instinctively that this is how it works, and after that they go back to being tightly bonded. Some amazing sound effects. So for our newer viewers, that looks terrifying. That's pretty gentle lion behavior. That was please pass me the salt in human terms. One of the lionesses just lost her temper a little bit. It always looks a lot worse than it actually is. They occasionally walk away with nicks and scratches. But that one lioness just lost her temper with the other one. Oof. My favorite part about any drama at the moment with the Nkuhumas, whether it's over the mealtime, over dinner time, or if it is a fight with another male, the lionesses growl and sound terribly fierce, and the cubs immediately join in going, they all just join in. It's amazing. It's obviously an instinct. We saw it with that massive fight that the lionesses had with some of the Birmingham boys, and then the Birmingham boys started fighting with each other, and all the time the cubs were yowling out their displeasure at the entire situation. Oh, somebody's found a rib cage spot. Perfectly encased in the rib cage. The carcass barely visible now under the pile of lions. Now, Jay Atkinson, you wanted to know how old the cubs will have to be before we put spotlights on them. So the standard approach is around 8 months. It depends, it differs from area to area what age exactly it will be. And we will decide closer to the time whether or not we feel it is an appropriate thing. And it won't always be it depends on the circumstances. So there will be situations where even though the cubs are old enough to have spotlights on them, we probably will not spotlight them. It's typically, in most places, it's about 8 months. It might be that we leave it a little bit longer. It will be the decision of the head guides as to when it is acceptable. Oh, look at the little female climbing to the rib cage. Is that fun? You're going to be so dirty now. Amazing sound effects. Squealing, fussing cubs. Okay. Well, I think it's almost time for us to bid the Nkuhumas a good night and hope to return once again tomorrow morning. Not even certain if they're still going to be around, but as we decide to leave, I've heard some exciting things on the Game Drive channel. Let's go across to Brent and see what he has for you.
Yay! And we've just spotted Krula. We were in the area, we heard all the kudu alarm calling, so we rushed her. She's just going through a thicket at the moment, but she's going to pop out in the open at Treehouse Waterhole. And unfortunately, we do not get to say happy birthday to the cubs. It looks like she's alone and on the hunt. Okay, last spot was just there. She is. So I'll just give you a quick view. Okay, now I'm going to catch up with her now. And as always, the Queen likes to take us on sometimes a little bit of a goose chase. But the nice thing about now is if she shows any interest in hunting, we're going to have the capability to switch on to infrared. Isn't that exciting? So we've had a lion hunt in infrared. Could tonight be the night of the first leopard hunt in infrared? If anyone's new, this is the dominant female leopard that we get here on Djuma. Her name is Karula, which means the peaceful one, and she is an absolutely spectacular mother, an incredible animal to spend time with. And remember, if you have any questions about this incredible leopard or anything else we've been seeing, remember hashtag Safari Live on Twitter or questions at wildearth.tv. Okay, I'm just going to try and plan my next maneuver through the bush. Should be coming out into the open shortly. You okay there, Brian? Well, there we go. So she might stop for a drink at Treehouse Dam, which is about 100 meters away now. Yours, do you have my lights? Have she started heading a bit more east now? Parallel to the road? And she's probably going to stop, sniff, and scent mark. Now that's really important, especially since we had even a little bit of rain. That leopards quite often after rain will go and re-scent mark to make sure that any other leopard wandering into the area will know that they are in their territory. Oh, there's a hole. Oh dear, where are you taking us, Queen of Juma? There she is. So see, I'm gonna go. I'm just trying to look for a spot to go. We'll wait for her to go behind the termite mound. Now, there is one of the little tricks that makes Karula one of the toughest animals to track. Those little back legs. Now, see, she might have heard something. Now, we found her because she was spotted by kudu, and we heard the kudu alarm calling, so we drove off. When we saw the kudu, we looked where they were looking, and it led us to the Queen of Juma. I'm very excited to see if we get the chance to follow a leopard hunting in infrared. Okay, so while we stick on the Queen's tail, let's go back to Commander Bond in his warm and cozy tent.
Everybody, don't dally looking at me. Have a look at that. Have a look at that. There's an elephant. Ronald has made an evening friend, a Sunday evening friend, an elephant bull, young one, come down to have a bit of a drink. You can see Ronald's shadow there. He's just been waiting all afternoon to try and have a friend, and there is Ronald with his friend now. And you can see that the elephant, oh dear, he might pull over that little spot where the Nest camera is. Now, I'm tempted to move Ronald slightly forward to see what the elephant will do, just because I think it's important that we understand the boundaries. So if the elephant starts to drink and makes a bit of a noise, like he's going to make a bit of a noise now, so I'm going to just sneak forward. You see how we're moving there as he kind of swishes around in the water. Now, the last time we had an elephant sighting with Ronald, what happened was that the elephants sniffed him and stepped around him, and they did all this kind of movement around him, but they were very careful not to stand on him, and they're amazingly aware of their feet, elephants. Now watch this, this is wonderful. While the elephant's making a little bit of a noise there drinking, he's not paying any attention at all to this. So I'm just going to drive a little bit closer to the water's edge, hopefully not into it. That will result in a very cross Russian. There we are. There we go. We're going to stop there. Now look at this. There's the elephant coming now. I'm just going to just turn him slightly. There we go. That's an awesome shot. Isn't that a wonderful shot, everybody? Of the elephant bull. He's a youngster. He's probably about 22 or 23, just kind of making his way on his own. He'll get quite a lot bigger and heavier than that. Oh dear. Oh dear. The Russian is going to have a heart attack. Where's the elephant going? Oh, let's go back to the dam cam. There he is. Oh dear. Now, I think he's probably not coming to sneak up on Ronald from behind. I think what he's doing is just looking for some clean water there. Watch his trunk. Let's just see where it goes. If it goes towards Ronald, I'm loath to move Ronald now, because the elephant is pretty close by. I love this. I think this is just the best fun. He's making a bit of a slurping noise, so I'm going to just try a slight turning maneuver. Let's just watch his reactions. We just don't want to frighten him, but because we're not in kind of a drought situation, it's not like there's lots of water around. Ooh, look at this shot. Okay, we can go back to Rover now. The light is not great for Ronald, but there is the elephant very close by. Ronald, I must tell you, everybody, is now very scared indeed. But what is very important is that the elephant has taken absolutely no notice of Ronald whatsoever. Isn't that great? He's tossing some water around. Ronald is not waterproof. He is also not particularly shutterproof. And so, what a wonderful way to end Ronald's evening. Let's head back to Brent Leo Smith and his queen.
Now we're in infrared, no lights whatsoever. And she spotted something. She just dashed in front of our vehicle. And fortunately, we were already testing the infrared. You can just see her there. I don't know what she's seen, Brian. I'm just going to move forward a little bit. So we do not have a light on. We're not quite pitch black yet. Do you think you can see her through there? I can't see a thing. Let's have a look with the camera. She disappeared, Brian. You got it? There she is. Okay. Isn't this incredible? We're in the dark. Brian, I'm going to ask you to go off her for a second and put it on in front of me so I can see where I can maybe get her. There we go. Now this is what you call interesting driving. Driving while looking at a monitor. Fun though. So, I don't know if you can see if Brian drops it. So I'm seeing what the camera is seeing in front of the car. So there's what I'm looking at there. And I'm just trying to make sure that I can find a gap in the dark. You see it, Brian? Apparently she's stopped looking like she's hunting, so let's get a bit closer in there. No, she might have just heard. Oh, gee. Yours, there's some kudu right next to her.
We're live. Hello, everybody. Sorry about that. I'll keep you posted what's going on as soon as we get feedback from that extremely exciting sighting. Looks like it's coming back. We'll tell you now. Just you can take it. The elephant has moved off. He nearly stood on Ronald. He went very close. He went about that far away from Ronald. And mercifully missed him. And the Brent's picture is coming and going. I am just getting brief flashes of it. So as soon as anything happens there, we will go. In fact, it's okay now. Let's go back to Brent.
Okay, so there's a kudu. We can't see if there's any young ones. That might be a bit big for Kruger, but often there are some younger ones. Let's have a look.
Now the trick is getting this
A
thing
bit
into its
to the
hutch.
right, I think there, Brian. That's where I thought I heard some more. There we go, there's Impala as well. Oh, this is incredible. I literally cannot see a thing with my eyes. Yes, there's also some Impala there. They're probably 30 meters from me, directly opposite me. Alpha. And Inyala. Or is that it's a baby kudu? But let's just have a look if we can spot Queen Karula. Now this is the incredible thing about this infrared, and we can move around and not influence what's happening. Isn't this amazing? So let's just try have a look. Can we see her, Brian? Just trying to make her out. I think she could still be behind that termite mound. But let's just keep a lookout in this area, because I think if she moves, she might have dropped down into the little river system below them. So now this is the great thing. So with Brian pointing in front of me, I can see where I'm going. And we can just have a look around the termite mound. Just try to see if we can make her out. That's the last spot we saw her, was in that area there somewhere. Nothing there, Brian. Maybe check the termite mound next to us as well, you never know. So if I was her, I think I might have slunk into this there's a little dry riverbed ahead of us. See, this wind is swirling. So just over there, that's where the riverbed is. And that would provide excellent cover, especially with this wind gusting away. I don't know where there's... So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get us to a position where we can see the kudu and impala. And then, see, there's that infrared spotlight behind Brian. I'm just going to get us in a position where we can see the kudu and the impala, and then we're just going to wait. Now, of course, I can't see anything, so they were around there. Let me just get past this bush. Is that yours? That's yours, okay. I'm just going to go check a little bit further down. Yours, I think she might have gone into the shkova there to get to those animals. They're a bit further below. I'm going to try come around to your side because it's a bit higher, and with our infrared camera we might pick up something. Copy, thanks. So there's another road that runs parallel here, so what we're going to do, it sits a bit higher so we can actually possibly see into the drainage line, and hopefully we'll be able to see what's going on. So while I get there quite quickly, let's just go back to James quickly.
Just found one of the coolest things I think I've ever found on Djuma, and I'm really hoping that if we sit and talk really quietly, the animal concerned might just come out. And the reason that I know that is I just happened to come around the corner and there was a genet sitting on the branch. It then vanished into thin air. And the only conclusion I can come to is that it has gone into that hole. And therefore, I think, judging by the time of day, the fact that they'd only out now, this is most likely one of its regular sleeping spots, and maybe even a place where it would give birth and hide young. Perfect. A hollowed out dead tree. Nice and secure, smallish entrance so nothing can get in there. A perfect place for a secretive little creature to live. I've been sitting here for the last 5 minutes or so, via myself, in absolute silence. I'm not shining the light right on it, I'm just using the edges of the spotlight. Come on, Janet, it's okay. Out you come. Now, Janet, for those of you who are new to these live safaris, is one of the creatures that we hardly ever get to see. And it looks a little bit like somebody crossed a cat with a mongoose and created an animal. It's a sort of a long, slender, almost cat-like creature. It's not a cat, nor is it a mongoose. Capable of climbing up into trees and scurrying around on the ground, an agile little creature. Probably about 60 or so centimeters long from the tip of its nose to the tip of its tail. Shortish legs, all in all a fascinating little thing. We know that they walk past our camps each and every night. I see their tracks in the dirt every single morning, but we hardly ever get to see them. Now, unfortunately, I'm going to keep looking that side in case it pops out. Unfortunately, I don't think we're going to get lucky tonight. I don't think this Janet's going to pop out. I'm going to give it maybe 30 more seconds and then I'm going to probably leave. But if we keep coming back here, at some point we are going to get lucky and maybe even get a chance to see baby Janets. You never know. This is the joy of the live safaris, is that we can keep on checking things like this Janet hole. Okay. So, night by night, we'll keep trying, but Brent has managed to catch up with the Queen of Nkuhuma.
Yeah, we're trying to keep up with her, but it's so difficult. There she is. You see, she's walking now. Okay. So she's abandoned the stalk. We don't know why. I'm just going to try. It's just still so disconcerting to look down here to drive. So you can see she's highly alert, but she doesn't have that hunting body posture she had a little earlier. Now this is incredibly good weather for her to hunt. There we go. But I am going to try keep up with her, but we might lose her just because the fact is that I can't see or drive through this in the dark. So I'm just putting my lights on. She's heading down towards the road, so what I'm going to do is try to get down to back to the road. Oh no, she's changed direction again. She should be about to pop out somewhere in front of us. I thought she was. Oh, Impala. Yes, there should be some Impala just ahead. Okay, we're just going to move slightly off to the right. Oh, she's been spotted already. Where's she gone? Did she make a charge without us? Got the Impala snorting. Let's have a quick. Isn't that amazing? She's just disappeared. I mean, she was literally right next to us, and now she's gone. And then Impala are alarm calling. So what she's doing at the moment, which is unfortunate for her, she's actually walking with the wind at her back. So I think quite a lot of stuff is smelling her before they see it. Now, last spot I saw her was here when we switched off, and then she charged through. Now, one's got to wonder whether those Impala have just smelt her or actually seen her. But she's literally vanished. she might be up ahead of us. She might have gone behind us. Let's just have a look a bit further forward. But even if we lose her, it has been spectacular testing out this infrared. And leopards definitely a bit more challenging than lions. Since there's only one of them to follow. With the lions, at least you've got a couple to look out for. Oh, we're nearly back on the road. You got anything like that? Okay. Well, yours is checking back that way. We'll check this way. Now, there's a good chance she's still close by. Now, sometimes, if she may... Sorry, I'm just... Yeah, so what happens quite often... Copy, thanks. They might have just smelt her, and after just smelling her, they might have snorted a little bit, which sometimes can put a leopard off, and she might just lie down around here somewhere and wait, and they can be incredibly patient when they're hunting. So, especially on a blustery, windy night like tonight, I think there's a good chance she's going to have some success. And I don't think that, oh, there's some impala looking this way. So if we have a look with the infrared, you can just see, there you go, you can make out the impala there. And they're looking down towards Pangolin track. So maybe she slipped straight past them. Actually, while we were repositioning, she might have even gone between yours and myself and we wouldn't have seen her. Okay, I think we're going to leave the queen to her own devices and hopefully she catches an impala and we can have a belated birthday with Hosana and Shongile. But wow, what an incredible sunset safari it's been. It's been quite windy, the weather's been quite difficult, but the animals have produced. I mean, you've had elephants and lions, and we got to see Thandi's cubs for the first time, and I'm really ecstatic that I got to experience trying to hunt with a leopard at night. And Brian, I can see, has got a grin from ear to ear. And it's quite challenging, and it's definitely something I think we'll get better and better at as we practice it. But to be able to go out and follow animals in the dark without having to interfere with spotlights is an absolutely amazing thing. So really, really exciting prospects as we go forward and we learn and get better with the infrared technology. And I'm quite excited about the infrared technology. Brian, what do you say?
I'm also very excited.
Really excited. I definitely think it's going to open up a whole new world as we cruise around the African bush live at night. For me, I definitely think getting used to driving while looking at a screen is going to be quite interesting. But I think we've got to learn. And well, yeah, it's going to be very exciting. But yes, and again, Thandi's cubs, very exciting. That's the first time they've ever been seen on Safari Live, and that is the third set of cubs seen, fourth set of cubs seen this year. So also really, really awesome. And well, hopefully we can go visit the birthday cubs the day after their birthday on tomorrow's sunrise safari. We are coming towards the end of the safari, and as I say, from the killer bees, it's been spectacular having you there. Unfortunately, Brian's thumb didn't need its umbrella, but who knows, maybe it'll need its umbrella in the morning. So we had a little bit of rain this morning, which was great. It stayed overcast. It'll give a lot of the vegetation a good chance to grow without the sun beating down on them, and the cold windy weather has produced some spectacular sightings. And of course, And we've had James, Steph, Jamie, everyone out and about, finding you all the fantastic wildlife of Africa. And guess what? We'll be doing it again tomorrow morning. And of course you can't forget the girls in Final Control and the tech team. And our fearless leader, Graham Wallington, has arrived on site. So till tomorrow, have a wonderful rest of your day or night, wherever you are. Bonne nuit.